will it be fear and loathing at Shea Stadium? That's the question. The Yankees and the Mets. There's a lot of bad blood. There's a lot of electricity in the ballpark. 55,000 people are here tonight. Sunday Night Baseball. Looking at the first place Yankees from the American League East. Both the Blue Jays and Red Sox have won their games. The Yanks need a win here to keep their advantage atop the division. And the Braves losing at Boston. The Mets with a chance to move up. Meanwhile, the weekend, it's been all Yankees, starting right here at Shea Friday night when the 6'4" tall Paul O'Neill robbed Derek Bell of a homer in the 8th inning, preserving the win. Then yesterday, back here at Shea, obstruction called there, and Lee Mazzilli helped point it out, and then Bobby Valentine ejected after just one pitch thrown. The Yanks won the game. Then later, on to New York. Piazza beamed in the 2nd inning.
He handed his lunch to him every time we played him. So the first hitter he throws at his head, the second hitter he throws at his head, and the fourth hitter he hits in the head. I guess he was just off a little.
Then in the next inning, Tino Martinez hit in the backside by Glendon Rush. Then later, a 3-run homer by Knobloch, but almost caught, actually caught and dropped by Harris. That was the winning hit. Clemens walked off the field a winner. In New York, as the Mets now take the field. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Gumout, the Yankees and the Mets. Joe Torre, reports are that the Mets are unhappy with him as well after comments that he made last night in regards to the beanball incident at Yankee Stadium. The Mets reportedly are unhappy with just about anybody in pinstripes right now. Here is the Yankees Pepsi batting order. It'll be Knobloch at second base, Jeter at shortstop, O'Neill in right field, Bernie Williams in center field batting cleanup, and he has been real hot lately. Jorge Posada, the catcher. Tino Martinez, who's had an excellent series at first base. Shane Spencer at left field. Scott Brocious is at third base, and Andy Pettit, the pitcher, is batting ninth. And on the mound for the Mets on 3 days rest, Mike Hampton, who's won 8 games. He was a 22-game winner last year for Houston.
And Johnny got off to a very slow start, and most of the problems he was having earlier were control problems. He's settled down, and now he is the guy here. He's been pitching very well. He and Al Leiter are a great 1-2 punch here. He has a good sinker, and he throws a changeup that also looks like a sinker. Very little difference between the two pitches.
All right. And joining us, Alvaro Martin with a feel for the clubhouses before the game. Alvaro.
Yes, John, this has been the most intense Subway Series in the 4 years history of this short series, in which the Yankees are leading the Mets 9-8. But this weekend's games have all been close, and the stakes have never been higher. Earlier today, the clubhouses were quite loose, but catcher Mike Piazza is still quite angered by the beating incident that led to his 2nd concussion in a month and a half, and he refused last night to take a call from Roger Clemens in the clubhouse. Now, it's going to be up to home plate umpire Tim Welke, who received no special instructions before this game from the commissioner's office, to make sure both teams just play ball.
All right, Alvaro, and we'll see how long that holds up. Of course, there was a warning issued last night, a blanket warning to both managers after Glendon Rush hit Tino Martinez with the pitch. Bobby Valentine, who is closing in on 4 years as the manager of the New York Mets. He took over the ball club in late August of 1996. Of course, Joe Torre in his 5th year as the manager of the Yankees. Tim Welke will be the home plate umpire. Mark Carlson at first, Dana Demuth, the crew chief, at second, and Doug Eddings is the third base umpire. So here we go. Chuck Knobloch leads off for New York.
John, I think a lot of the tension surrounds the fact that the Yankees have won 3 in a row. And if you're the Mets, you should be upset that you've lost 3 in a row, and the fact that Mike Piazza, your best player, is out of the lineup for a while. So you should be angry.
Piazza with a mild concussion, and he's not feeling that well tonight, as Hampton does. Throws a first pitch strike to Chuck Knobloch. Piazza is in uniform, as you can see. And when I asked Bobby Valentine if it was possible that Piazza could be used later in the game, he said, well, we'll see if he improves or not. That curveball is whacked into left field for a base hit, and that will bring up Jeter.
Well, let's take a look at the defense, and this is what it looks like. Mike Piazza normally behind the plate. Pratt will be back there, but we all remember Pratt hit the home run that got them to the League Championship Series last year. He's had a struggle for a while lately. He was 0 for 24 in the stretch lately, but he's swinging the bat well again now.
So Piazza not out of the game. He came to the ballpark not feeling all that well. He had a headache. He had a short press conference before the game. And in that press conference, he said that he believed that Clemens threw at him, that he had no respect for Roger Clemens. Here's Jeter. That's too low. 1 ball and no strikes to Derek Jeter. And he did really nothing to diffuse it.
Well, my opinion, John, is that most of the time a hitter can tell in his own mind if he feels the guy was throwing at him. I mean, he could be incorrect, but Piazza feels that Clemens threw at him intentionally.
The dirt knocked down by Pratt, and he keeps Knobloch at first base. Well, Mike Piazza had 7 hits in 12 career at-bats against Clemens, including a double and 3 home runs. He is the only player ever to hit a home run against Clemens in 3 consecutive games. The only one.
Well, Clemens said he had made up his mind he was going to pitch him inside, and I understand that.
2-0. 3-0.
But there is a difference between pitching inside and pitching high and inside. And Clemens said he was not intentionally throwing high and inside. He said he was just trying to pitch him inside. So, that's something that Mike believes one way, and Clemens said it's another. So you have to accept whoever you want to believe. I definitely believe that Clemens. I don't believe Clemens was trying to hit him in the head. I just can't imagine that. A guy like Roger, who's pitched all these years, even having that in the back of his mind. So I don't think that was a concern.
And back to the bag at first is Knobloch. 3 balls and a strike to Derek Jeter. Now, Jeter, after the ball game last night, when asked about the whole thing, he said, well, it's over with. And when told that Bobby Valentine said that it wasn't over with, Jeter said, well, you'd have to be stupid to think that this thing wasn't over with. That's foul. And it is 3-2.
Well, I might be stupid because I don't believe it's over with. and I mean, if you're in the Mets dugout, you know it's not over with. I mean, anytime your manager says that it was intentional and that he's upset, that rubs off on the players because he is the leader of the ball club, so to speak. And Mike Piazza, their true leader, says that he believes it was intentional. So it's definitely not over.
Paul O'Neill on deck. There goes Knobloch. And Pratt with the throw. They've got it back ready. A double play. And the Mets partisans are heard loudly. And in the home of the Mets.
Well, Pratt gets a good ball to throw on. It's a low fastball, but it's right down the middle. He comes up, fires a strike, and Knobloch not even close at second base as Alfonso tags him out.
So Jeter strikes out into a double play. 2 down, nobody on. And here is Paul O'Neill, a strike on the outside. O'Neill with 2 hits in 13 at-bats in the series, and yet his first game catch in the 8th inning kind of lingers over the whole thing. He robbed Derek Bell of a game-tying 2-run homer Friday night. That's a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. O'Neill hitting .292 for the year, 10 home runs, 53 batted in. And the breaking ball down and away. 2 balls and a strike. We've got 2 pitchers, each starting with 3 days rest today. Hampton for the Mets, and there's Andy Pettit, who will be taking the mound the same way. This is only the 20th time in the majors this year that a starting pitcher has worked on so-called short rest. Base side, that is just foul. 2-2 the count to O'Neill. Now that means less than 1% of all the starts in the majors this year have been made by pitchers on less than 4 days rest. Less than 1%.
And John, remember, that's the way it used to be. I mean, pitchers started every 4th day. Juan Marichal, Sandy Koufax, all the great pitchers, they always pitched on the 4th day.
Well, as recently as 1973, almost 40% of all the starts in the majors were made by pitchers on 3 days of rest, or even less. 2-2 count. And that was the cut fastball missing down and away.
Well,
3-2.
One of the things you have to give Hampton credit for is he only threw 79 pitches in his last outing. And you can see that Pettit threw 107. So you would think that Hampton would be the fresher of the two if fatigue is a factor.
2 down, nobody on. 3-2. Struck him out. A very strong first inning from Mike Hampton. Now the Mets Pepsi starting lineup. It'll be Melvin Mora at shortstop. Derek Bell, right field. Bell has been real hot the last 2.5 weeks, and he has had an outstanding series, despite being robbed Friday night by Paul O'Neill. Edgardo Alfonso at second base. Todd Zeal hitting cleanup at first. Benny Agbayani left field. Robin Ventura, who's been struggling, he's at third base. Jay Payton, center field. Todd Pratt, the catcher in place of Piazza, and Mike Hampton, the pitcher, is batting ninth. On the mound for the Yankees, and so far this year he's been their best. Left-hander Andy Pettit.
Well, John, this is a different Andy Pettit than we've seen in the past. He used to throw a lot of cut fastballs. That was his main pitch. Now he uses the sinker a little bit more, the changeup, and the curveball. That doesn't mean he's abandoned the cut fastball, but we'll see which one is working best for him now, and that's the one he'll use the most of tonight. You used to know exactly what you were going to get, and that was a cut fastball if you were a right-handed hitter. But now he mixes his pitches a lot better.
Here's Melvin Mora. He's been playing shortstop most of the time since Ray Ordonez went down with an injury. At the knees, a fastball for a called strike. Pettit, by the way, working with 3 days of rest, is taking the place of David Cone tonight. This would have been Cone's normal turn to start. Curveball down the left field line. That's in there, base hit. Shane Spencer falls over. He's hurt. And into second goes Mora. Spencer is down in pain out in left field. Timeout is taken by the Yankees after the double by Mora.
John, I was watching the highlights of games played earlier today, and Aaron Boone barehanded a ball, and he crumbled down on his left leg like he injured his leg today like that on a similar play. It looked like he's saying his right leg buckled on him.
Bernie Williams over. Derek Jeter is also out.
Felix Jose is the one that's stretching right there. Well, let's take a look and see what happens here. Let's watch his right leg. It's his right leg. And you see right there his knee kind of buckles to the inside. Watch his right leg again. Watch his knee. See right there? It's his right leg. I don't know if it's knee or his ankle, but it buckles in right there on him, and he's in a lot of pain. But he throws the ball back in, and well, it looks like he's going to come out of the ball game, and Felix Jose is going in.
Well, he, attempting to make a catch the other day, crashed into the wall at Yankee Stadium and bruised his right knee. Kept him on the shelf for a day or two, although he said as long as he didn't bang his knee against anything, it was not troubling him over this weekend. But
and John, if you look at his knee, it looks like he has a wrap on it. See his right knee, see all the wrinkles in his pants? That's the indication that he has a wrap on his knee already, which is probably from the injury that you talked about last week. And I'm sure Bobby's not laughing at the injury. He's just laughing about something going on in the dugout.
He is walking very gingerly, as you see, heading down the steps and going back to the clubhouse. Felix Jose now in left field. Jose, a veteran and a switch hitter. Here is Derek Bell, who has been red hot. In this series, where the Mets have done very little offensively, Bell has been carrying the load. Shoots that one foul down the right field line. The spot where he's hitting second in the order that you would figure he'd be looking to go to the right side.
Well, he definitely took a shot that way on the first pitch. He wants to make sure that he moves Mora over to third one way or the other, or at least over to third. And Derek Bell has been swinging the bat exceptionally well. He was very hot at the beginning of the season. He went into a lull, dropped all the way down to the 280s. Now he's back over 300. He's been swinging the bat so well the last week or so.
Bell is 6 for 11 in this series. Is that cut fastball high and tight for a ball?
And you see Pettit, he wants to try to keep him from hitting the ball to the right side, so he threw a cutter inside.
The Mets have only scored 5 runs in this series, and Bell has driven in 3 of them. 1-1. And that's a foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And now with 2 strikes, I think Derek Bell should just try to drive him in. He took 2 shots to right field, and that's all you ask as a manager. Now you tell him, just go ahead and drive him in.
And that's the man he's trying to drive in, Melvin Mora. Derek Jeter over behind him, trying to keep him close. No score in the game in the first. Struck him out. 1 away.
Good breaking ball there from
The second
Pettit.
baseman.
And here's
Number
the defense.
13,
Now we've got to change Posada. First-time All-Star. But now we have Felix Jose out there in place of Spencer.
Jorge Posada, who has just had an excellent year, both offensively and defensively. As you saw, he's thrown out a high percentage of runners who've attempted to steal when he's been behind the plate, relatively speaking. That's a strike to Edgardo Alfonzo. Alfonzo, one of the Mets' key hitters, but he has had only 2 hits in 11 at-bats in this series. In fact, Alfonzo, Ventura, and Piazza, normally the 3, 4, 5 hitters, have all been pretty well shut down in this series. Fastball too high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alfonzo 2 for 11. Ventura 1 for 12. And Piazza, before he got beamed last night, was 0 for 8. And that was one of the statements that Torrey made after the game that the Mets took exception to. Torrey was saying, hey, why would Roger be throwing at a guy who is 0 for 8 in the series? And that's a ball too low. I don't know that that's the way Torrey meant it, but the Mets thought it was a cheap shot. 2-1 the count to Alfonso.
Well, all the hostilities are really on the part of the Mets. They're really the ones that are upset. But again, I think part of the reason is because they've lost the first 3 games of this series.
That is just foul. Third base side, Brocious gave chase. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Alfonso. Todd Zeile on deck. Alfonso, despite his recent dip, is hitting .322 for the year. 13 homers, 58 batted in. This is coming off an outstanding year last year when he drove in over 100 runs. 2-2 the count to Alfonso. Mora led off the inning with a double. He stood at second with 1 out. And another strikeout for Pettit. 2 down. We mentioned Mike Piazza had a press conference before the game and talked about being beamed last night.
I've seen it done before. I know it's part of baseball, and I accept that. But to me, that was obviously very much an intentional pitch. That I wish I could remember him as a great pitcher, a Cy Young Award winner. But now I don't. I know I can't do that.
Well, basically what he's saying is he lost respect for Roger because he feels that Roger threw at him.
Here's Todd Zeile after a leadoff double to Mora. Pettit has struck out 2 straight hitters. Now 1 ball and no strikes to Zeile. Zeile hitting .306 in his first year with the Mets. 13 homers, 51 runs batted in. strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And you can see he's using an assortment of breaking balls more than the cut fastball to these right-handed hitters. He's taking some speed off, changing speeds a lot better.
First inning. Just off the outside with a fastball. 2 balls and a strike now. Duzille. Now getting these clutch hits has been a problem for the Mets in this series as well. They've only scored 5 runs in the first 3 games. For the year, the Mets are only hitting .252 with runners in scoring position as a team. That's ball 3 this year.
You can see Posada hitting his front shoulder right there, hitting his left shoulder, and what he was basically doing is he's telling Andy Pettitte to keep his shoulder in there. Watch, this pitch was supposed to be inside, it was outside. Now watch what he does. He hits his shoulder. That means keep your front shoulder closed. Don't open up too quickly.
That is grabbed at first by Tino Martinez. Really hit hard by Zeal. Nice pickup by Tino. And the Mets have 3 chances to get the man home from second. Can't do it. Bernie Williams coming up. Well, they said yesterday when the first game was played at Shea and the second game at Yankee Stadium that here at Shea there were maybe 30% Yankee fans, 70% Mets fans. But when they played at Yankee Stadium, almost everybody there was a Yankee fan. Bernie Williams dropping one just in front of Bell. Bernie's going to try for 2. The throw. 2.
Payton in center field did not get a good jump on that ball. Looked like he broke back first. Derek Bell took a shot at it, but he couldn't get there. Little blooper in the shallow right center field.
Bernie Williams headed to the All-Star game. As Payton retrieved the ball. Bernie gets his 24th double of the year. And now Jorge Posada headed to his first All-Star game and a hard slider. Nice save by the catcher, Todd Pratt. The Yankees, with Bernie Williams headed to the All-Star game, the Yankees have had a great tradition of center fielders starting in All-Star games. In the first 70 All-Star games, the Yankees have had the starting center fielder for the American League 28 times. Most starts by a representative of one team in either league at any position, much less center field. Bernie Williams were to start there on Tuesday. That would make it number 29. Mickey Mantle started for the American League 12 times in center field. Joe DiMaggio started 6 times. But 3 times DiMaggio started an All-Star game as the right fielder because Cleveland's Earl Averill started ahead of him in center field. Now, Averill must have been pretty good.
Obviously, if he started in front of Joe D.
Change up and away. 2-1 to Posada. Bobby Mercer started in center field 3 times. Ricky Henderson was the American League starter 3 times in center field when he was a Yankee. Roger Maris started out there a couple of times. That's some pretty good players pass through the Bronx. It's a little bit high, apparently. 3-1 to Posada. Tino Martinez on deck, no score. Each team has gotten its leadoff man on base in each inning up till now. Knobloch started the first with a single for the Yankees. Morris started the first for the Mets with a double. Ball 4 to Posada, putting 2 men on. Meanwhile, let's get an update from Bill Pito.
All right, John, thank you. As Gumout takes us to Wrigley Field, the Cubs and the White Sox for the second straight game. Sammy Sosa goes deep. Cubs win at 9-6, but the White Sox finish the first half with the best record in the Major League. They're 55-32.
Sammy Sosa headed for the All-Star game. For a while, we thought maybe he'd be playing in this game tonight. Here's Tino Martinez. strike on the outside with a fastball.
You know, John, a couple of times I remember Tino Martinez has been the target of the opposition when they get mad at the Yankees. Remember Benitez hit him in the back. I mean, a couple of times. I mean, he seems to be the guy that they pick on when they get angry at the Yankee hitters or the Yankee organization.
Tino would like to do something to make the Mets angry right here. 0-2 the count. Tino had the big day yesterday in the first game here at Shea. He drove in 3 runs for the Yanks in a 4-2 win. Dwight Gooden over Bobby Jones. And by the way, you can see a little bit of rain has begun to fall at Shea Stadium. Here's Doc Gooden back in Shea. Check swing. Did he swing? Yes. Third base umpire Doug Eddings. Strike 3.
Good job of pitching there by Hampton. He went away with a couple of pitches, and then 0-2 he threw a fastball inside, and Tino couldn't hold up. Now he's gone away with a couple of pitches to set this up, and there you see the fastball inside. Tino could not check his swing. Watch the barrel of the bat, and you can see that he couldn't hold it.
Now Felix Jose. Jose, who was a former big league regular, missing from the scene for a while, and
5 years, John.
5 years?
1995.
Wow. I thought maybe he was in one of those over 40 leagues or something.
Yeah, he's been gone since 1995. He's happy to be back. I talked to him before the ball game. He was always one of my favorite guys because he just seemed like he loved to play. He never got cheated at the plate. Very aggressive.
They went with him here rather than David Justice with the left-hander going. That's a called strike on the outside. Hampton has been just a strike-throwing machine since walking Posada. 2 men on, 1 man out. Bernie Williams led off with a double. He's at second. Posada walked. He's at first. Hampton has thrown 5 consecutive strikes since the walk to Posada. Fastball off the outside. Jose had not played previous to this in this series. He hit his first major league home run since 1994 at Fenway Park last month. He had his first RBI since 1995 in early June in Atlanta in another interleague game. Struck him out.
And you can see the good tailing fastball from Mike Hampton, and that's what he does so well. He tails the fastball away, he throws a straight one over the outside corner, and he keeps the hitters honest by coming inside every once in a while. Watch the target right there toward the outside part of the plate.
Two men down. Hampton in the first inning gave up the leadoff single to Knobloch. Then he struck out Jeter on a 3-2 pitch. It resulted in a double play. And that is a called strike to Brocious. 0-1. Brocious hitting .254, 8 homers, 36 runs batted in. He's 2 for 10 in this series. Andy Pettit out on deck. 2 on, 2 out in the second.
And 0-2. That's that great sinker right there. That's the one that's almost unhittable. Watch the location and watch the movement. Look at that. Great movement. Down and away from Brocious.
And the Mets fans rise to their feet here at Shea. 2 strikes, 2 down. To third base. Ventura. That's the inning. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Gumout. Yankees nothing, Mets nothing. As we head to the last of the second inning, Benny Agbayani will be coming up for the Mets. Another huge crowd here in New York. I mean, these 4 games will have played before about 220,000 paid admissions in 3 days.
Well, and one of them is the best defensive first baseman to ever play the game, in my opinion. Just walked in the booth. Keith Hernandez. He's hiding behind you there. He was great. I'd probably have 100 more hits if it wasn't for him picking him over there at first base.
Here is Benny Agbayani leading it off against Andy Pettit. That's a called strike on the outside. Agbayani hitting .293, 7 homers, 29 batted in, 2 for 7 in this series. And that's a ball outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. All right, the best defensive first baseman ever that you've ever seen?
Keith Hernandez.
All right. Even better than Tony Perez.
Defensively, yes. He could hit a little bit, too.
So let me just get this straight now. I'm being real literal here.
Okay.
Best defensive first base you've ever seen only could hit a little bit.
Oh, no, he could hit a lot. Actually, he led the league in batting a couple of times, at least once. And he was the most valuable player in the league. He and Willie Stargell tied one year for the most valuable player award.
It's a foul off the right field side.
And he was the leader of the Mets when they were the amazing Mets and the kind of the rebel kind of Mets.
Well, when we saw Doc Gooden take the mound here at Shea yesterday, that was a reminder of those days.
Right.
Base hit for Agbayani. Dwight Gooden pitched in this ballpark for the first time since 1994 yesterday.
Number 4.
And he was a different kind of a pitcher. But one thing that had not changed, he was able to figure out how to get guys out.
You're right, but the thing that makes him different is there 1K in 5 innings. And Doc used to have 11 or 12 in 5 innings before, but that's the evolution of a power pitcher, learning how to get people out without having that great fastball. And there you see the Keith Hernandez and Doc were both part of that 1986 World Championship team.
Ventura back out of play. Robin Ventura has really been struggling. 1 for 12 in this series. And the .235 average for the year. And Bobby Valentine says that he takes some of the blame for Ventura's struggles of late because he's not been able to get him a day off. Pettit with a throw to first, Agbayani back.
And, you know, Pettit has a great pickoff move. In fact, he's been called for 2 balks in the last couple of years. And this year, the balks were called by umpires who were in the National League before this year. Now they're all one group, but they were called by National League umpires.
It's a strike on the outside. 0-2 to Ventura. Bobby Valentine would like to get Ventura a little more regular rest in the second half of the season. But look at this. Since June the 26th, that's the last 2 weeks, only hitting .143. No homers in that time. Base hit. Stopping at second, Agbayani. O'Neill fires it into Jeter. 2 men on, nobody out.
And remember another thing with Robin Ventura, he had shoulder surgery and knee surgery during the offseason, and he is still recovering a little bit. That's exactly the way you want to hit it. A line drive in the hole to right field. It gets to Paul O'Neill pretty quickly, so they have to hold Agbayani at second base. Another guy that's been hot for the Mets, John, is Jay Payton. He's starting to swing the bat very well.
Well, he had a 14-game hitting streak that ended this Friday, and he hit .370 in those 14 games. Payton is hitting .400 against left-handed pitching. The bunt, back to the mound, headed to third, in time. Agbayani retired at third. The quick reactions of Andy Pettit and a poor bunt by Payton.
That's also surprising in that you're at the bottom of the order. If he executes it, you have runners at second and third, and then you have Pratt up. You can walk him to get to the pitcher. But a nice play by Pettit. Remember, when you're bunting against a left-handed pitcher with a runner at first and second, you have to really make sure the ball goes to the third baseman because he's already facing third, and it's a very easy play for a left-handed pitcher to make. A lot more difficult if that ball is bunted to a right-handed pitcher.
Well, plus, I mean, Todd Pratt, the guy up next. Here's Payton, has been hot until this weekend. And Pratt is 0 for his last 27.
Well, maybe he was bunting for a base hit and it wasn't a sacrifice situation.
I hope so. Todd Pratt has not had a hit in more than a month. I mean, when you're the backup catcher to Mike Piazza, that is a real backup job. I mean, just once in a while do you play. But since June the 2nd, he is 0 for 27. His average has fallen 110 points. First and second, one out. High in the air to right field. O'Neill drifting back. Plenty of room. Bayani, or rather Ventura, tags up at second and moves over to third, with Payton holding at first. So Pratt is gone now 0 for 28. The misery continues for Todd.
The pitcher, number 32, Mike Hansen.
That'll get you talking to yourself. 0 for 28.
Well, he still hasn't reached my high yet. I think I was 0 for 34 once or 5.
Roger Clemens had been back in the clubhouse. Comes out onto the Yankee bench now. Two down. Runners at first and third, and Hampton. Now Hampton is hitting .318. Maybe that's what he was figuring. Payton gets the butt down. They walk Pratt, and he gets a .318 hitter up there with the bases loaded. Jay is always thinking, Joe. He's 2 steps ahead of us. I heard that laugh before, that little.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not buying that.
It was a good try. I'm trying to help him out a little bit. Hampton is a good hitter, though, for a pitcher. Just off the outside. 3 hits the other night. The Mets in this game now 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. So maybe if they're going to break out of this little slump that they plunged into this weekend, Hampton's just going to have to do it himself. Came right after him. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Hampton wasn't trying to get a single either. He was going for the big fly there. I mean, watch this swing. I mean, he's going for the big fly, John.
Outstanding all-round athlete. Curveball. Well, he showed him some respect there. 2-1 the count. Hampton hit 3 triples last year with Houston. The first pitcher to do that since Bob Forsch, 1975 with the Cardinals. Up and away, it's 3-1. Melvin Mora on deck. Last year, Hampton won 22 games, hit .311, and was the first Major League pitcher to win 20 games and hit over 300 in 19 years. The last one to do it was Catfish Hunter, 1971. Only 30 pitchers in history have ever done it. 11 are in the Hall of Fame. So that's a pretty good combo there, hitting 300 and winning 20 games. Hampton did both last year. And Pettit is showing him an awful lot of respect right here. Runners at first and third, 2 down. Just on the outside corner. With a nice pitch there, 3-2. Jay Payton, the runner at first base. And with 2 down on a 3-ball, 2-strike count, Tino Martinez continues to play on the bag with it. Always a threat to pick off a runner. There he goes. The pitch swung on, hard smash to third. Brocious has it. Calmly throws to first for the out. The Mets are 0 for 6 in the clutch at bats in only 2 innings. No score after 2. That's nothing. Each team has had men on the bases right away. I mean, usually a great way to score some runs is get that leadoff man on base. Both teams have had their leadoff men on in each of the first 2 innings, and nobody scored yet. The Yankees got Knobloch to lead off the first with a single, nothing. Bernie Williams led off the second with a double. Posada followed with a walk, nothing. Now Andy Pettit, who of course is an American League pitcher, rarely bats, only in these interleague games, and he takes a called strike. He said when he was in high school, he hit .360 and played first base when he wasn't pitching. But he said even then, he had no thump. Just a singles hitter, no power. No pop in the bat. He is 0 for 3 as a hitter in the 2000 season, facing Mike Hampton. 0-2 the count. And look at that. He made contact. He fought one off.
That was a tough pitch, too. He just protecting the outer half of the plate and got a piece of it. There you see the Jeter and the guys laughing at him. That's when you know you're a close-knit group of guys, when a guy makes a funny swing and we can all laugh at it. Took a little better cut right there, John.
Well, they're still laughing. Had it one hit in 11 at-bats lifetime. So there, he got the one. Now, Doc Gooden, pretty good hitter. 196 career average before yesterday. 0 for 2 yesterday in his return. Curveball right back to him. Well, he showed him some respect. Threw him the curveball. One down. And now Knobloch will come up. No score in the third inning. That's the view from high above Shea Stadium. Tonight's aerial pictures are courtesy of the Gumout aerial camera.
You know what's strange to me about the Yankees is that everyone is saying they need this, they need that, yet they're in first place. And they're also a group of veterans. And I said to you earlier in the year, I thought that in August and September that they would show what they're made of. Because it's very difficult to win championships 2 years in a row, have great records during the regular season, and continue that for a third year. What they're aiming for now is to get into the playoffs and win another world championship. It's just very difficult to go out there after you win 100+ games and say, I'm going to win 115 the next year. It's just too hard to do.
You see they're below the pace which they were playing at this time last year. And, of course, last year, even though they were 50 and 32, they were way behind their pace.
The year before.
The year before when they won 114 games.
But you have to remember, these are veteran players, and they know what it takes to win a championship. And I guarantee you they will play better in August than September. They just seem to be starting a little early right now. The last, few days they've been playing very well, and they're in first place. I mean, the problem is they've set the bar so high of winning those 114 games and dominating the American League that everybody thinks they should do it all the time.
Alfonso throws out Knobloch. 2 men down. So you're blaming the Yankees for these high expectations.
Exactly. Well, they played so well that everyone expects them to continue to do that. But it's almost impossible to do that like 3 years in a row. But it's not impossible for them to win another championship, because I think they know what they have to do if they can get into the playoffs, get to where they want to be. I think they know what they can do from there. They think they can win a championship. I think they feel like that they're more capable of winning a championship than some of the other teams because they've been there before.
Well, as Derek Jeter stands in, Jeter struck out into a double play his first time. You're kind of echoing the thought process of the old pitcher Billy Lowe's from back in the 50s when he didn't want to win 20 games
because they'd expect him to win them every year.
Yeah, if I do that, they'll expect me to do that every year.
Well, not exactly. I just think that when the Yankees won all those games 2 years ago, everyone felt, well, they're going to do it for 2 or 3 years in a row. It's almost impossible to do that because there's a lot of luck that goes with being good. You have to have some luck at the same time.
The Yankees have won 7 of their last 8. I mean, their struggles had reached a point where they were just barely over 500, only 2 games above 500. There's Brian Cashman as general manager. Looking on, the vice president and general manager of the Yankees. 2-1 the count to Jeter. The Yankees have gone through a real tough part of the schedule. Jeter chases a bad ball, and it is 2-2. They went through probably their toughest part of the schedule, and they did not do well during that stretch. The Yankees at one point were 16 and 27. So that's a long dry spell for a good ball club. The schedule favors them after the break. 2 down, nobody on. 2-2 the count. Struck him out again. Mike Hampton, a 22-game winner last year, and looking that way right now. And then he just blew him away in the third inning. Now the Mets with the top of their order up against Pettit and a curveball to Mora. Strike one called. Mora got a double to left field. Actually, it was a single, and then when a freak occurrence happened, the ball inside to Mora, Shane Spencer had his knee buckle, and apparently he twisted his knee, and they've taken him to a local hospital, Joe, for x-rays. Well, the All-Star break is coming up. And tomorrow from Turner Field in Atlanta at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, it's the Century 21 Home Run Derby. Mike Piazza will be joining Chris Berman and Joe Morgan in the booth. Then at 10 o'clock Eastern, it's the 2000 All-Star Celebrity Hitting Challenge on ESPN. The home run squads right now look to be Carlos Delgado leading the American League, Carl Everett, and Ivan Rodriguez. Rodriguez has turned into a slugger, got 26 home runs. And either Troy Gloss and Edgar Martinez, one of those two. Derek Bell off the glove of Jeter. And Derek Bell is aboard. He struck out his first time, but gets a single here. Sammy Sosa, Chipper Jones, Vladimir Guerrero, and Ken
The second baseman, number 13,
expected to be the
Edgardo Alfonso.
National League home run squad tomorrow night.
Well, Jeter reaches out. It's right off the edge of his glove. But that was a sharp line drive off the bat of Derek Bell. And Derek had him shaded a little bit toward the hole.
So Derek crossed him up. That brings up Edgardo Alfonso. Derek Bell, according to Bobby Valentine, has been an all-star this year. Bell hitting .319 coming into this game. 12 homers, 23 doubles, 53 batted in.
And, John, they've raved about his defense. They say he's played Gold Glove defense in the outfield.
Part of the deal of getting Mike Hampton reportedly was that the Astros said you can't have Hampton unless you take Bell. They wanted to get rid of his big salary and open up a spot for one of their young outfielders like Lance Berkman, Richard Hidalgo, or whatever. And then Bell has turned into a revelation for the Mets, having an outstanding year. As is Alfonso. Third base side could be two. Motions to second one. Out left to first. Double play. Side retired. Alfonso is 2 for 13 in this series. It'll be O'Neill, Bernie Williams, and Posada coming up. No score after 3. Including both ends of the unique doubleheader. First time in 97 years where two teams played each other in different ballparks in the same day. The Yanks enjoyed it a little bit more than did the Mets. Paul O'Neill struck out his first time. And he's 0-1 quickly this time against Mike Hampton.
And the great thing about Hampton, as we talked at the beginning of the show, is that he is throwing strikes. And this is a completely different guy than the guy that started the season with the Mets, walking 7 and 8 batters, in 6 or 7 innings. I mean, he is throwing strikes, and anytime a left-hander can throw strikes and he has good stuff, he's going to win.
Curveball down and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. By the way, we were mentioning the home run derby tomorrow night on ESPN. It sounded like we had some pretty good sluggers in there, even though Big Mac and Ken Griffey Jr. won't be in the All-Star game. Big Mac won't be in the home run contest either. Now, Griffey's going to be in the home run derby, but apparently won't be able to play in the game because of a bad knee. Barry Bonds, elected to the All-Star team, aggravated a thumb injury pinch hitting Saturday night for the Giants. Through the middle, base hit. Paul O'Neill gets the Yankees' third hit. Bernie Williams hit a double in the second. But keep an eye, Joe, I guess, on Jay Payton here, the center fielder.
Yeah, now watch up at the top here. Jay Payton does not get a good jump, so he starts back. And then the ball is shallow, and Derek Bell gives it a good attempt, but he can't come up with it. And a throw to second base not in time, but Payton did not get a good jump on it. And Derek Bell had to try to make the play.
But it did not cost, even though it was a leadoff double. Hampton got out of the jam. So here's Bernie to try it again with O'Neill at first. And O'Neill back to the bag. Now, as we have seen in the past with John Olerud at first base, still the case with Zeal over there under manager Bobby Valentine. It's a little unorthodox. Zeal plays off the bag over in front of the runner instead of on the bag with him.
Well, if you're going to use the slide step as Hampton did there, it really doesn't matter where the first baseman plays. I think, remember now, what you're trying to do is cover the hole a little bit better. Whereas the first baseman usually has to jump off the bag and get square. There's the slide step from Hampton.
Yankees at that time. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But what you're trying to do is get your first baseman in position quicker, because we've seen a lot of times when a guy holds that runner on the bag and then he jumps off, by the time he gets his position, the ball is already hit and he can't cover the hole as well. So that's basically what you're trying to do.
1-1 the count to Bernie Williams. 1-2. I guess that's a cut fastball, Joe. It's thrown so hard, but it has movement like a slider.
Yeah, but I don't think it's really a cut fastball, John. I want to look at it again. It looks like he's just throwing a sinker that's really moving a lot.
1-2 the count to Bernie. Down and away.
See, he's throwing a sinker that's just going this way, and then one is just sinking, I think. This one is turned over. This is a true left-handed sinker right here. See the ball go away, and see Pratt even has to backhand it because it was moving late.
2-2 to Williams. O'Neill at first, and he goes back to the bag. Now, you're talking about Zeal being there to plug up the hole a little bit, but oftentimes, as the pitch is about to be thrown, he'll bluff back toward the bag as if to try to get the runner to head back in the wrong direction.
Well, if they're using it to hurt the runner, then I don't think this is nearly as effective. I think it's better off to plug the hole, because you can see how far he gets out there on his slide when he steps out as Hampton delivers to the plate.
Hampton with a new ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. No score. 4th inning. Yanks have 3 hits. Hampton has walked 1. Bernie Williams having his best year. He's got 80 runs batted in.
There's that cut fastball that you were talking about. See, that's a big break there.
3-2.
Take a look at this one, John. See, this is a big break. See that one? That's that cut fastball at 90 miles an hour. But he calls it a cut fastball anyway. I mean, it looks like a big slider to me.
3-2. Now, some people say that, say 50 years ago, Ted Williams would have called a slider, is actually now called a cut fastball.
Right.
And what we call a slider oftentimes is more of a
Nickel curve.
Yeah.
In between.
In between curve and slider.
Right.
Slur.
Well, Ted Williams used to say that the pitch that bothered him most there was the slider, you know, the real true slider. So the true slider stays on the same plane. It doesn't curve down. It just stays on the same plane and moves across the plate. Whereas a slider will break across and down a little bit, but that's hard.
That same plane movement is what we saw there on the cut fastball from Hampton. Again, O'Neill back to the bag. Well, they seem to be very concerned about O'Neill taking off here. Although he's not a base stealer. Bernie Williams, who is having an MVP-type first half of the year, with 80 runs batted in. Only Edgar Martinez of Seattle has driven in more runs in the American League, at least coming into play today. They've got him picked off this time. Mora tags him out.
Great job there by Hampton and Zeal. See, they have a prearranged sign there that tells them exactly what Zeal is going to do. Now watch, he'll break back. He has a prearranged sign. You see, Zeal hides Hampton from O'Neill partially, and then he takes off back to first base. They pick him off, and it's easy from there.
Well, that was the 5th throw to first base by Hampton. Right to shortstop, Mora. Bernie Williams, out number 2. And that was the 3rd Yankee to be picked off the bases in this series by the Mets. The Marlins have defeated the Devil Rays after a rain delay in the All-Florida battle, 10-9. Clifford Floyd, a big night. In Southern California, Garrett Anderson, number 26. The Angels lead the Rockies, who've lost 6 in a row. The Padres leading the Rangers at the ballpark in Arlington. Nicholson, the Canadian, just recently up for the minors with a hit. So this is not the only game going on right now. 2 games elsewhere. interleague play. The Arizona Diamondbacks won their ball game today over the Athletics to avoid being swept in Oakland. And the man who did it for him is the man who always does it for him, the big unit, Randy Johnson. They needed a win badly. He struck out 13 in his 7 innings and won his 14th game.
Well, the one thing that the Oakland A's are going to find is that they're very vulnerable to left-handed pitching. You know, especially good left-handed pitching. They have a lot of good left-handed sluggers in the lineup. And Jaha is not swinging the bat as well as he did last year on the right-handed side. So I think they're going to have a problem down the stretch if teams can load up their left-handers and wait for the A's.
2-1 to Jorge Posada, who walked his first time. A switch hitter heading for the All-Star game. By the way, he is hitting .354 right-handed. 2-2. He took a little something off that one.
Well, that's what he does, John. He'll turn the sinker over, take a little off. It's not really a changeup, but it's kind of an in-between pitch. I see the ball really move away and down.
Two-down, nobody on. No score, 4th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Posada. Struck him out with a curveball. Hampton has 6 strikeouts. Yankees nothing, Mets nothing. Last of the 4th at Shea Stadium. No runs scored here just as of yet. However, next Sunday night we'll be in Denver, and if there are no runs by this time of the game, it'll be a miracle. Todd Helton and the Colorado Rockies, who are hitting .358 at home and averaging 9.5 runs per game at home against Jason Giambi and the Athletics. At the same time, over on the deuce, the Cubs and Sammy Sosa, unless he gets traded.
He's not getting traded.
They'll go to Kansas City to take on Jermaine Dye, an all-star, Mike Sweeney, Carlos Beltran of the hard-hitting Royals. That's 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaiian.
John, my sources tell me that Sammy's going to remain in Chicago. And remember, he can veto any trade. So my sources say that he wants to stay there, and he's going to stay there.
There's ball 1 to Zeal. Now, the other day, though, I thought I read where Sammy was saying that he wanted to be traded by July the 31st or offered a contract for what he thought was respectable money.
That didn't come from my sources, though, did it? My sources are a little more reliable than the newspaper, John. My sources are very reliable. Sammy will be there.
Well, call me sometime when you get these hot tidbits.
I tried to send you an email, but you were on your computer, and I couldn't get the email through.
That's not the way it works. When you got a busy on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that. Zeal takes a strike, 3-1.
Actually, I was calling you at home, and you were using that line.
I mean, has anybody gotten one of your emails yet?
Yes. Yes.
Right field. O'Neill going back. Still going back. Not this time. Into the bullpen. On Friday, he caught it. Tonight, Zeal just got it over him. 1-0. Mets.
Fastball away, and he hammered it to right field. And you're right. Watch how close O'Neill comes. Just barely. O'Neill plays this perfectly. He gets back to the wall, leaps, and he can't make the catch.
Unlike Friday night, Joe, where he actually got back and kind of paused and then jumped, he actually was going back to the wrong side and had to switch back around.
Well, this is a fly ball. See how high this one is? He has time to get back there on this one and wait. Zeal's was more of a line drive. He didn't have time to get back there and wait anyway. He got back as quickly as he could.
2-0 to Benny Agbayani. He singled his first time. 1-0. The Mets have scored first. They're in the 4th inning. Andy Pettit delivers. Back onto the net. The count, 2 balls and a strike. This one, more of a line drive, as you say, and maybe with a little slice of it, too, because O'Neill was back with his right shoulder toward the wall and then spun around at the last moment back toward his left shoulder. It's almost like the ball gave him a Michael Jordan-like fake at the last. Fake left and went right. 3-1 the count. And a foul out of play. Well, Todd Zia with his 14th homer is one of the many experienced players on this Mets ball club. The guy's been around a long while, and he's had some experience with Andy Pettitte in the past. He's one of the few Mets who faced Pettitte more than just a couple of times, and he's had success. That was his 7th hit in 19 career at-bats, his 2nd home run against Pettitte. Did he swing? No. Ball 4 to Agbayani. First walk allowed by Pettitte. Robin Ventura.
Number 4, Robin Ventura.
1-0. The Mets are leading in the last of the 4th inning. Mike Piazza thought that the Mets had a lot of breaks go against them in this series, and that they were due to get some in their favor, so maybe they got one here. Yesterday, of course, they were very unhappy in the first game with an obstruction call that went against them. Too far in. And the fans, that's the first close one in this game, and the fans are all over it.
And that woke up the fans to the fact that there's still a feud going on. But because of the close game, I think some of the bad blood had gone away because Clemens is not playing, and neither is Piazza.
1 ball and no strikes. Now Pettitte annually is among the leaders in pickoffs in the American League. He got a very deceptive move. Hampton got a pickoff in this inning for the Mets, picking off Paul O'Neill.
Because he has such a good pickoff move, it makes it very difficult to try hit and run. Because the runner at first base is not going to be able to get any kind of a jump. So even if he gets a base hit to the outfield, you wouldn't be able to go to third base, and you would defeat the purpose of taking that risk of sending the runner.
Martinez on the bag with Agbayani. Agbayani is a big guy, but he runs pretty well. It's a foul off the foot of Ventura. And you can see even on that last pitch to the plate, Agbayani flinched back toward first base.
Well, I think if you're a base runner, you have to get a comfortable lead and not move until he starts his motion to the plate, till the ball actually starts to the plate. I mean, if you're a base stealer, then you have to get out there and try to read it. And that's what he's doing. He's doing a pretty good job there. He's getting a lead that he knows he can't get picked off with. And that's what you do. You take a safe lead at first base with a guy like Pettitte, especially if you're not trying to steal the base.
And again, a foul ball. 2-2 to Ventura. Agbayani, who was guilty of a base-running mistake last night at Yankee Stadium that helped the Yankees get out of an inning. Derek Bell hit a ball off the plate toward third. Brocious jumped up for it. Agbayani was at second and started toward third, and then Brocious bluffed toward first where he had no play, and then turned around and tagged out Agbayani, who came right into the tag.
Tough pitches here by Pettitte. You can see he's trying to stay in tight with that sinker on Ventura. And that's kind of unusual because you have the hole on the right side. So if he gets that sinker, that he can get the bat out a little bit, hit a ground ball to the right side, more than likely to go through the hole.
Robin Ventura singled his first time tonight. Big hole on the right side, as Joe mentioned. G to the shortstop, well over toward the middle. There you see the situation at first. Right field, Paul O'Neill. Just a high, lazy fly for round number 1.
He took something off of that pitch and got Ventura way out front. That's good pitching there because he had thrown the fastball inside several times. which means that Ventura was trying to be quick on it. Then he took a little bit off and got him out in front.
One out of Jay Payton now. Now, both of these teams are said to be looking for pitching. I asked Bobby Valentine if it came down to where the Mets could get a hitter or they could get a pitcher, which would he prefer? Fastball to the outside. And Bobby said, well, another pitcher would be great. And I said, starting pitcher or relief pitcher? He said, well, how about one of each?
Well, it's not. Hey, if you're going to ask for something to make your team perfect, that's what you do. Ask for both.
Curveball pulled foul on the third base side. 0-2 the count to Jay Payton, who bunted into a force out his first time.
John, if you look at the stats, the league statistics, the Yankees are 4th in the league in batting behind Anaheim, Chicago, and Texas. They're 4th in the league in pitching behind Seattle, Chicago, and Boston.
Where's Chicago in both of those categories?
2nd in both. And as you know, they have the best record in the league.
Back to the bag again.
And Chicago, as far as fielding is concerned, the Yankees are 10th in fielding, and the White Sox are 13th in the league in fielding, next to last. Only Oakland is below them. That is starting today's contest. And obviously, Knobloch has a lot to do with the Yankees being 10th. He's made 15 errors this year, but Derek Jeter has also made 10 at shortstop.
Check swing on that curveball in the dirt. Posada kept it in front of him and kept Agbayani at first. 1-2 the count to Payton. 1-0. The Mets have gone ahead of the Zeal home run here in the fourth. It's Tom Zeal talking to Robin Ventura. A couple of veteran warriors right there. They've been in many a pennant race battle. And in another check swing by Payton. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Todd Pratt, the catcher, is on deck. Agbayani over at first base. Number 50. He's from Hawaii, the 50th state. Andy Pettit from Texas. His dad, Tom, watching the game down there tonight. That's a foul ball on the third base side.
John, and look at the Mets. They are 7th in the National League in batting. We're talking about batting average. They're 6th in pitching, and they're 3rd in fielding. And they're very close to 1st in fielding, very close. They're 9.983 fielding, and the leaders are St. Louis and Colorado at .984. So the Mets have done a good job defensively. Not as great a job as they did last year, but still they played pretty well defensively.
They made only, it was unbelievable last year. They only made 68 errors the whole year. So almost whatever they do this year, it's not going to look good.
Well, that's the same thing with the Yankees. They've set the bar so high that, it's almost impossible to live up to what they did last year. And there you see the difference right there. 68 over the course of the whole season last year, as you mentioned, and 51 to this point.
Their infield last year. Ricardo Alfonso had a great year at second base. Everybody had a great year in that infield. The whole infield made, 38 errors the whole season. And they made 30, here we go. There you have it. Made 21 errors the whole season. This year they've made 39 errors. This could be 2. Let's see. Knobloch pulls forward a second. They get just the one. Jeter went up to get it, but forced on Agbayani.
Well, he made the tough play because he was running away from second base, and he turns and he makes a throw to Jeter. Jeter on top of he's going. The easy play would have been to go to first base, but he throws, and Jeter makes the play at second for it. And watch, he's running away from second base, but he turns and he throws it overhand, and he's able to get the runner at second base, Agbayani. And that's the play that you're supposed to make, cut down the lead runner in that situation.
Todd Pratt. Flight out to right his first time. Takes a strike in the inside corner. 0 for his last 28. Pratt, who sat out a year in baseball. Of course, the story last October during the playoffs became famous, where he had been a manager for a pizza outlet, heading for second, and making it his paint.
Well, he tried to throw a change up there, and he held on to it a little too long, and he bounced it way in front of the plate. Posada blocked it, but it went out in front. Good heads-up base running there by Payton. To watch, bounces out in front, and Payton was off right away. He did not hesitate. Good base running there.
That ball bounced several feet in front of the plate. So now a base hit to mean a run. The pitcher, Hampton, is on deck. An opportune time for Pratt to break out of this 0 for 28. Change up, too low. 2-1 the count. Pratt also worked for his brother-in-law doing what is called seawall work, a form of underwater masonry. He wore a wetsuit and submerged himself in as much as 12 feet of seawater as they built these seawalls. Curveball too low. It was a hard work, he said, that it could be dangerous. I think he prefers this. And he had done real well as the backup to Piazza.
Well, Mike Piazza,
and earlier this year.
Piazza can tell you this work is dangerous too.
Looked awfully dangerous last night at Yankee Stadium. A sickening sight. They had a great shot on the Yankees local telecast last night of Don Zimmer, who got beamed twice. It's a minor leaguer, very seriously. And his reaction to the beating. That's ball 4. And it is apparent that Pettit would rather pitch to Hampton here. 2 on, 2 out.
Well, when Zimmer got beat, John, they weren't wearing those helmets. Remember, they only sometimes had those little plastic things inside of their baseball caps.
Piazza, that may have been the difference for him last night, was the bill of that helmet.
Well, that helmet has definitely saved a lot of players. It hits him in the front of the helmet. Actually, we've seen Mike get beaten up a lot lately.
Hampton swinging away. Out in right center, Paul O'Neill, plenty of room. That's the inning. Piazza got hit by Gary Sheffield's bat not so long ago on a backswing. Todd Zeile goes deep. The Mets have the lead 1-0. We go to the 5th. Lead the Yankees as we head to the 5th inning. Tino Martinez coming up against Mike Hampton, and our Alvaro Martinez standing by. Alvaro.
John, you talked about Mike Hampton's turnaround, the early jitters in the first part of the season when he was 2-4 with an ERA of 6.5. The Mets went down in early May to Florida to play the Marlins. His father, Mike Sr., drove down 5 hours from Central Florida to spend the weekend with Mike. They spoke absolutely no baseball, no Mets baseball, none of his career. Since then, he's 6-1 with a 2.04 ERA. He said, my father was my best coach. He is my best coach. But from the moment I turned professional at the age of 18, he has never said a word about my pitching.
Well, that may just prove how good an influence he is.
Well, that's dad being dad, you know, trying to help him to calm himself down and just go out and pitch like you can rather than trying to change something.
Because let's face it, when you've got, as Tino Martinez swings and misses, it's 0-1. When you're at the big league level and you've got a manager like Bobby Valentine, Dave Wallace, an experienced pitching coach, I mean, you're getting the best tutelage you could possibly get. I mean, these people have all been there. Not to mention influence from your teammates, other pitchers, that sort of thing. And Alfonso throws out Tino, and there is one away.
Well, Hampton has 6 strikeouts. He's with Jeter on a double play. He gets Paul O'Neill. And there's Tino as he tries to check his swing. There's Felix Jose. And Jeter again. Jose Posada. So he's done a good job of containing these right-handed hitters on the Yankees.
Here's Jose, 0 for 1.
I looked at the Yankees lineup. Only a couple of their right-handed hitters have actually hit left-handers as well as they have right-handers. Bernie Williams has hit them well. Jorge Posada has. But Knobloch has struggled against left-handed pitching. Most of them have not hit very well against left-handed pitching.
Paul O'Neill
has hit well. He's at 299, yeah.
340 against lefties. O'Neill coming in and 1 for 2 in this game.
Well, he has always hit left-handed as well because he stays back through the middle, and his base hit in tonight's ball game, he's right back through the middle.
1-2 to Jose. Brocious on deck. 1-0. The Mets leading in the 5th. That was close. 2-2 the count.
That's the best fastball on the radar gun that he's thrown tonight, 94 miles an hour.
And he's been mostly in the high 80s. 2-2. Just off the outside. Full count.
That is very good patience there by Felix Jose on both of those pitches. With 2 strikes, you get a lot of hitters chasing that pitch. That's what Hampton was trying to do.
3-2. And he walks him. Second walk allowed by Hampton. ESPN2 will provide a glimpse of the future on Wednesday night from Rochester, the home of the AAA Red Wings. It's the AAA All-Star Game. See future stars as well as past ones. Ruben Sierra has earned a spot from Oklahoma City. Then at 10:30 Eastern on Wednesday, the AA All-Star Game from Bowie, Maryland, a great, beautiful ballpark, the home of the Bowie Bay Sox. ESPN2 going back to the minors to check out some future All-Star games Wednesday night. In right field, Derek Bell. Back to first will go Felix Jose. 2 men down, and now Andy Pettit will come up. 1-0. The Mets are leading. And getting back to this thing for just a moment, Joe, about Alvaro's story about Hampton and his father refraining from coaching him once he got to the big league level. And I really respect that, because there are a lot of others, brothers, fathers, who cannot refrain from trying to still help, still teach. I mean, they've taught them since they were young, who maybe can't quite grasp that these guys
have changed.
and also they're getting great information from guys like Mel Stottlemyre and Dave Wallace and the people at this level. Alvaro, that's what I liked about that story. I mean, his dad was a great influence in his life, and you can see he's still a great influence by refraining, I guess. Pettit back to the screen. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Sometimes when you're a player, you get all stressed out over the fact that you're not, performing well, whether it be pitching or hitting. And sometimes you just need somebody to tell you to relax, sit back, and start over again. And it's not easy to do that all the time.
Hampton's dad runs a seafood business in Florida. 1-2 now to Pettit. Still an outstanding softball player in his 40s. Alvaro.
Yes, and his father had to take care of his own family when he was 14. He went into the road construction business. Later on went into that fish business. And that is what Mike said made him develop his poise and confidence.
Strike 3, number 7. Baseball in its midseason interleague interlude. All the teams except the Giants and the Cardinals have been playing interleague play throughout the weekend and will after the All-Star break. As we get a look at Shea Stadium, they're really been getting into it here in New York. These annual interleague battles between the Yankees and the Mets have provided great excitement in these 2 ballparks. And now, in addition to all the excitement, there's bad feeling between the clubs. As Melvin Mora into right field, Paul O'Neill, and there is 1 away. Mora is now 1 for 3 in the game.
John, on July 9th, 1946, the All-Star game was played on this date in 1946. So he told you it was played a little earlier. And Ted Williams hit 2 home runs and drove in 5 runs to lead the American League to a 12-0 laugher over the National League. And remember, that's the year he also in the 8th inning hit Rip Sewell's Eva's pitch for a home run.
Well, I mean, that was
3-run homer.
That was 5 years before I was born. I don't personally remember. I'm sure many in our audience remembers it.
Well, yeah, but it's 1946. That's Ted Williams.
Well, I remember seeing films of it.
Okay, well, I've seen films of it. Ted Williams
Now, what jumps out to me on that one is, Joe, is that he hit it in the 8th inning. He was still in the game. That was the All-Star game. He was one of the biggest and greatest of the All-Stars. And so it was a fans game, and so the greatest All-Stars stayed in the game. They played the game.
Are you trying to say that it has become an exhibition now more than a game?
I'm talking directly to the commissioner of baseball and the All-Star managers. We want to see the All-Stars. Of course, it seems like a lot of them are hurt right now.
A lot of them are.
Man. But the point is, Williams, a few years before that, hit a home run at Tiger Stadium in the 9th inning, and it was a game-ending home run. The key to me was he was still in the game to hit it.
Right. That's, of course, Joe Torre is going to manage the American League All-Stars.
Derek Bell down on strikes, out number 2. By the way, I had this message from the commissioner. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. And be sure and check out MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the most complete baseball coverage on the Internet. Joe Morgan checks it out every day.
Not every day.
Especially if he gets a busy signal when he's trying to send an email.
Not every day, but I check it out.
Yeah. Busy signal on email?
I'm going to check it out tomorrow. I'll get all my All-Star information.
You get that information and you keep it to yourself. You don't send me any emails with all the inside info. So Sosa's staying with the Cubs. You're going to get a new 8-year contract?
Well, I don't know that yet. My sources didn't go that far. It just went as far to say that Sosa is going to remain with the Cubs. He's happy there. He loves Chicago. And the fact is that, he can veto any trade now, and he's going to stay in Chicago.
Edgardo Alfonso, 2 balls, 1 strike. Edgardo has struck out and hit into a double play. He's 0 for 2. 2 for 13 in this series. 1-0, the Mets lead.
So the Cub fans can relax. They're going to be able to see Sammy, and I think Sammy's relaxed now. I mean, that takes a load off his mind, knowing that he's going to be there for the remainder of the year. He hadn't hit a home run for quite a while. Then when all this went down, he said he's staying. He hit a home run today.
That's a called strike 3 and 2. So maybe in regard to Sosa and a new contract extension, your sources emailed you but got a busy signal.
No, but this is just right hot off the rumor mill. This is not rumor. This came from my real reliable sources. He's going to stay there.
Tough hop there for Tino, but he stayed with it. And that's the strongest inning so far. The only inning the Mets have got.
It looks like it's a vein. He's pressing to get that little slider. There's a breaking ball down and in. I don't know exactly what it is or why it happens, but it's there on the breaking ball for sure.
Well, that's an incredible look from the super slow-mo behind home plate. It didn't make me feel comfortable looking.
I was getting ready to say sometimes the show gives us a little too much information there. Yeah, that's...
Man.
I don't know if I wanted to see that, and I'm sure Pettit doesn't want to see it.
Don't show it to Andy. Here's Knobloch, who has singled and grounded to second. The Yanks at the top of the order up here. We're in the 6th inning. Now, there's a question with Hampton, who is working on 3 days rest.
But remember, he only threw 79 pitches in his last outing, John.
He's now thrown 74 in this one. Foul tip. 1-2. Well, Hampton acquired to be the ace for the Mets. They already had an ace, Al Leiter. But really, with all due respect to Randy Johnson, the only pitcher who really did what Hampton did last year was Pedro Martinez. That's a foul. 1-2. And what I mean is, the only pitcher who won more games in the majors was Pedro. Pedro won 23. Hampton was 22-4 last year. But besides that, he made 34 starts. And his club, the Astros, won 29 of those 34 starts. I mean, when he pitched, a losing streak was over, a winning streak was extended. Into right field. Racing back Bell. Joshua makes the catch.
Well, he was playing awfully shallow out there in right field, and Knobloch gave that ball a ride. And Bell, we talked about earlier the fact that the Mets were saying that he has been playing Golden Glove outfield. You see, he goes straight back, never takes his eyes off the ball, leaps, and comes down with it right as he enters, gets on the warning track. Nice play by Derek Bell. You can see how shallow he was. I mean, he had to go quite a ways just to get this ball.
And he had to deal with the wall right after. Now Derek Jeter. Into right center, base hit. Payton streaking across the green to cut it off. Jeter with a big turn at first, and he'll hold there. Payton did a nice job of making sure he just got the one base.
That's why Jeter is such a good hitter there. He didn't try to overpower the ball. Looked like it was something down and away, and he just kind of flipped it into right center field. Watch where the pitch is, down and away, and he just lines it into right center field, hustling all the way. First thought he might have a chance for a double, but Payton played it properly, and he holds him to a single. But that's good hitting right there. It was a good pitch from Hampton.
First time that Jeter has actually hit the ball against Hampton tonight after striking out twice. Hampton, 6 wins, 1 loss, and a 2.04 ERA in his last 11 starts before tonight after getting off to a horrible start. Paul O'Neill, the hitter. Too low. 1 ball and no strikes. Hampton has the lowest earned run average among all big league starters. Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Chris Benson, Al Leiter, Kevin Brown, name them, in that time. 4-0 lifetime with 3 days of rest. You see Zeal in front of Jeter rather than back on the back. Hampton, 79 pitches, the same number he threw in his complete outing on Wednesday. He did not complete the game Wednesday. They just took him out with a big lead against Florida. Strike. Nice pitch on the outside corner, knee high. 1 ball, 1 strike to Paul O'Neill.
What you're trying to do if you're Hampton is get this sinker down and try to get him to hit the ground ball. And O'Neill lays off it.
Hard to believe Paul O'Neill is now 37 years old. Down and away for a ball. O'Neill came up with Cincinnati. He was really playing for his old hometown team then. But it was when he came to the Yankees that his career turned around. He was sort of a one-dimensional hitter in Cincinnati, a pull hitter. Became a 300 hitter with the Yankees, who also hit some home runs. Credited the Yankees hitting instructor Rick Down at that time. He got here in '93 with helping him adopt that leg kick as a way of triggering his swing. Went away.
This is what he does best. He's always pretty patient at the plate, and he always tries to get the pitcher into a hitter's count, and he makes sure he gets a good pitch to hit. When he doesn't, you can tell he's very upset. And he does not wait and get a good pitch to hit.
O'Neill only hit 190 against the lefties all of last year, but 340 this year. 3-1 the count. Jeter not running, and the foul ball makes it 3-2.
Well, what do you do now if you're Joe Torre? In the first inning, you sent Knobloch, and Jeter struck out into a double play. You send Jeter here in this situation.
You gotta send him.
Well, Paul O'Neill normally makes contact, but you also have Bernie Williams on deck.
You want to make sure Bernie gets in at bat.
And with a man on base.
I'm sending him, though, Joe. That's my game. You know that.
There he goes. Thought you were a big fly man.
Well, I am a big fly man, but everybody's doing that now.
So it's easy if everybody's doing that.
So now I'm going for the speed game. That's what I enjoy. Joe Torre. When he first came to the Yankees, 1996, he brought that National League style to the Yanks. They've been more of a station-to-station attack before he got there. 3-2 to O'Neill. One thing that is happening, though, Jeter getting a very late break with the lefty Hampton out there. Got a short lead. The throw will go to first this time. Well, remember Hampton with O'Neill at first in the 4th inning in a similar spot, threw 5 times to first base, and then finally he picked O'Neill off. Johnny Valentine, his Mets are leading 1-0. Jeter runs. The late break again. That's a foul. I mean, he's getting a real late break.
Well, the problem with a late break is if you're a middle infielder, you do not have to move that quickly. You do not have to give up your position. And there you see the late break. So if you're Mora or Alfonso, whoever's covering there, you make sure you do not give up your infield position too quickly, because you still have plenty of time to get to second base before Jeter does, if he gets such a late break.
Jeter leads the Yankees with 16 steals. He's only been caught twice. Bernie Williams on deck. 3-2 to O'Neill. He's running. Again, O'Neill just gets a piece of it. That really has become part of O'Neill's game, too, hasn't it? I mean, these 2-strike counts, and O'Neill fouls off pitch after pitch after pitch.
Well, he's a good hitter, and I mean, good hitters do that. They spoil the good pitches, and then you make a mistake, and they get a base hit. And he's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. There are a lot of guys who are afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes.
He has fouled off 3 consecutive 3-2 pitches here. This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat. To the back. One thing you mentioned, Joe, the Yankees were 4th in the league in batting average as a team. One thing that's been much different about this Yankee team than any one of their last 3 or 4 teams, they are way down in the league in getting walks. They used to be right at the top.
Right.
A real patient ball club. It made you throw a lot of pitches, a lot of deep counts, and they drew a lot of walks. Not so anymore. There goes Jeter. O'Neill hammers it foul deep down the right field line. Alvaro Martin is here with us. Alvaro.
John, the Yankees were 4th in the major leagues last year with 4.4 walks per game. This year they're down almost a walk per game, and they're really near the bottom of the tables in that category. When you ask the Yankees and you ask Chris Chambliss, their hitting coach, he says we're simply seeing and hitting what we're seeing from pitchers. I think the pitchers have adjusted to the fact that we're a patient team. They're trying to get ahead of us, throwing strikes, and we're swinging at them. He says you never win by walking, you win by hitting the ball.
So Chambliss had to spin. Walks are down. That's all right. You don't win by walking. Good. Jeter runs. O'Neill pulls it foul. Wow, what a battle. O'Neill and Hampton. This at bat may turn into a weekly series here on ESPN. 3-2. Now this is a key at bat. I mean, if O'Neill ends up getting a hit or getting a walk, of course the walk would not win the game. They'd get a hit to win the game.
Yeah, but you'd have Bernie Williams up next to get the hit.
Then they'd be in pretty good shape with one of the Major League's leading RBI men coming up next. And Hampton's pitch count growing on a humid night. Jeter runs. Struck him out. Jeter's going to try to get back. He is safe. He did.
And smart play by Jeter. He was watching all the time, and he looked up and saw that Paul O'Neill had struck out, and he was going to be a dead duck at second base, so he just stopped.
Center fielder, number 51, Bernie Williams.
What made this difficult is Mora caught the ball on the run and then had to make a throw to first base. High fastball strikes him out. Now watch. Mora catches the ball on the run. Now he has to make the throw on the run, and he could not get it down.
Good call by Dan Carlson there.
Watch, he stops right there, Jeter does, and starts back. So he's on the run, so he throws high to first base, and Jeter gets back in.
Paul O'Neill fouled off 5 consecutive 3-2 pitches. And then on the 11th pitch of the sequence, he struck out. But Jeter, who got no kind of a jump whatsoever against Hampton, and that's great credit to Hampton. So Jeter's I guess Joe knew going in he was not going to be a threat to steal a base if O'Neill swung and missed. Here's the gum out in-game box score. Knobloch, Jeter, and O'Neill, and Williams, the top 4 hitters, each have a hit, but the Yankees do not have a run. They've had some threats. They've gotten leadoff men on, but Hampton has done his best pitching in the clutch. And they got a tough batter here, Bernie Williams. There are those who, if they were voting for the MVP right now in the American League, who would send their vote to Bernie, a first-place team, hitting well over 300, and second in the league with 80 runs batted in. Switch hitter, taking too low. Bernie in this game has blooped a double, and he is grounded out to short.
And John, the fact that he is so high as far as MVP candidates is concerned is the fact that over the last few years, remember, Yankees have been winning, but they haven't had an MVP finish in the top 1 or 2 in the league.
Chopped to short. Mora got Jeter at second. Alfonso covering. 6 shutout innings from Mike Hampton. Todd Zeile has driven in the only run of this game, hitting a home run that O'Neill could not catch, leading off the 4th inning.
Well, he got it low enough that O'Neill could not get back there in time to time his jump as he did. Look at that. He just can't quite get back to the fence in time, and he's upset because he couldn't. If he'd have been a step deeper, he may have been able to make the play.
That's maybe one of those breaks that Mike Piazza talked about yesterday. The Mets had not been getting any. And you got the same ballpark as Friday, the same right fielder as Friday, but he was able to leap up and take one away from Derek Bell. Not tonight. Zeile gets the home run. Last night, of course, it went the other way against the Mets. Lenny Harris had the ball in his glove at the wall, apparently taking one away from Chuck Knobloch, and then as he hit the wall, the ball popped out of his glove. Home run for Knobloch.
Actually, it was a similar situation. He couldn't get back there in time, so he caught it with his momentum going into the wall, and the wall jarred it loose, and the ball went over for a 3-run home run.
Similar to O'Neill's play tonight.
Right. Very similar.
1-1 the count to Zeile. 2-1. There's Chuck Knobloch. Big home run. Lenny Harris had it for just a moment. Knocked up foul and back out of play.
Let's take a look at the bat track on the home run that Todd Zeile hit. 90-mile-an-hour pitch, and look how level that swing is right there. That's why it was more of a line drive on an 85-mile-an-hour swing. It was more of a line drive than a fly ball.
Slider in the dirt. 3-2 now to Todd Zeile. 2 pitchers going on 3 days rest in the same game. That is extremely rare. That's only happened 1 time in each of the last 3 years. Foul ball.
And the difference is that Hampton threw 79 pitches in his last outing. Pettit had 107 in his last outing.
So the other ball games going. Anaheim leading Colorado. San Diego up on Texas. And that is strike 3. By the way, you saw Gonzalez for a moment. I thought, wow. Juan Gonzalez with Texas. I've seen that many times before. That must have been Wiki Gonzalez. Who drove in some runs for the Padres. Here's the New York Mets gum out in-game box score. The only significant hit so far, Todd Zeile's home run in the 4th inning for the only run of the game. Mora and Bell at the top of the order each had a hit. Agbayana and Ventura with hits. Just the 1 run. The Mets frustrated. They had numerous chances in the first couple of innings. They went 0 for 6 in those 2 innings with runners in scoring position. In fact, for the game have not yet gotten to him with a man in scoring position. 0 for 7 as a team. Here's Agbayani. He singled and walked. 1 ball and no strikes.
Well, one thing Pettit has done this inning that he wasn't doing earlier, he got away with it with Zeile. He struck him out with 2 strikes, but he's getting up with a couple of pitches.
Change up outside. 2-0. This would be Pettit's 90th pitch of the game. And he's up 3-0.
Yeah, see, this inning he's been up with several pitches. He got 2 strikes on Zeal, and Zeal chased the high fastball to strike him out. But he has been up this inning. He kept everything down the previous 5 innings.
Pettit had one other start this year on 3 days of rest. That was at Detroit at Comerica Park. And he had a 9-inning shutout. Ball 4. That is the third walk-off by Pettit. The second time that he has walked out Bayani. 1 out, 1 on, and Robert Ventura is coming up. You see, Hampton was 6 shutout innings and 8 strikeouts. Pettit, 5 1/3, 1 run allowed, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. Pettit had the first shutout by a pitcher working on 3 days of rest this year. Brian Bohannon had one for Colorado last year, the only one in the big leagues. In left field, there is Felix Jose. Going back to first on Bayani. So Ventura is promptly retired. 1 pitch. 2 men down with a Mets in the 6th, and Jay Payton is coming up. No American League pitcher had thrown a shutout in 3 days of rest since David Wells for the Yankees in August of 1998. But having said that, Joe, Mel Stottlemyre, Yankee pitching coach, he did that 14 times. Pitched a shutout on 3 days of rest.
Well, first of all, John, there are not many shutouts on 5 days of rest nowadays, so that is special on 3 days rest.
Well, especially Stottlemyre did it 14 times on 3 days rest. And that is the most by any pitcher in the history of the Yankees. And Stottlemyre, who is battling multiple myeloma, a form of cancer. Tomorrow, the first day of the All-Star break, he'll be taking his 4th and final chemotherapy treatment. He says that the doctors told him that he's doing great. The treatments have gone great. And he said, now I'm not trying to be over-optimistic about it. He said, I'm just saying that's what the doctors said. They didn't say good. They didn't say, hey, going fine. They said great. So the news is very good in regards to Mel Stottlemyre. According to Mel, we're certainly glad to hear that. Joe Torre, of course, last year had his own battle against cancer. Pettit now 94 pitches. Hampton 91. And it's obvious, Joe, we're looking at 2 quality pitchers tonight. 1-0. The Mets are leading in the 6th. 2 down. Stride, and it's 1-1 to Jay Payton, who has hit into a forced play on a bunt. He's also grounded into a forced play. He's 0 for 2 after his 14-game hitting streak, where he was hitting everything for a while. He has gone 1 for 13 in this series. Curveball. Right to Brocious. And he drilled it. But right to Brocious. Now we head to the late innings. Posada, then Tino Martinez. 1-0. And Posada has been doing some pretty heavy hitting over 300, 14 home runs. A much stronger bat has emerged with Posada's status as the regular everyday catcher. He takes ball 1 from Mike Hampton. Tino Martinez on deck. Felix Jose due 3rd. Curveball in there for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, Posada made the All-Star team, picked by Joe Torre. Jeff Nelson, setup man of the bullpen, did not. He's warming up in the bullpen right now, and he was very upset about it. That's a ball too low.
And that's the trouble with picking an all-star team, and especially when each team has to be represented, you have a lot of people who may be deserving but are left off the team.
Well, that's also why
They need to expand the roster.
I mean, the All-Star manager is on the hot seat. I mean, to me, they should not allow him to pick the extra guys because it puts too much. Of course, he's going to pick his guys. How can he not? I mean, they're playing for him all year. His job depends on their performance. So if he's Bobby Cox and he's got the job, or Joe Torre's got the job. If you and I had the job, we'd pick our guys. We'd be nuts not to.
Well, Jeff Nelson said he did.
That's right.
But truthfully, John, in the past, the league presidents had a lot of input on the extra men, but now that they're no longer league presidents,
Now, I read that.
I don't know exactly how that works.
That was in the old days. They used to have
Right.
league presidents.
Yeah. And league presidents used to come in and tell you, if you're a National League president, would come in and say, hey, we want to win this ball game. We're not just here to have fun. We want to win. And the American League president, I assume, would do the same thing. But now we no longer have, league presidents. So I'm wondering who does get the most input on who plays on who the extra men are when they're chosen.
I think you take the manager off the hot seat with his own players if you take that responsibility away from him. Let him just go and manage the game. Base hit to right for Posada. Now I don't think that was where Hampton wanted that pitch to be. Posada aboard. Tino Martinez coming up. We're at Shea Stadium, New York, and there's the beautiful view from high overhead, courtesy of the Gum Out aerial camera. Glad to see him back up in the air. 54,286. The largest official paid attendance at Shea Stadium for a Mets game since 1970. The 3 games here at Shea played before more than 162,000 paid admissions. The largest 3-game attendance total in Mets history. This is their 37th season at Shea Stadium.
Well, I guess interleague play does work in certain places, doesn't it?
I don't know. For instance, when the Mets play, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, if they get 55,000.
Yeah, but I think Tampa Bay and Florida probably get their biggest crowds of the year when they play each other.
Do you know the count? That's a foul. It'll be interesting to see the Yankees go into the post-All-Star part of the season next week by playing Florida and Philadelphia from the National League interleague games. And I don't know if Florida's going to be packing them into Yankee Stadium when they come in. So the Yankees will look to get hot. They get Florida, Philadelphia, then Detroit and Tampa Bay, all at home. And they go on the road to play Baltimore and Minnesota. Pettit with the jacket on. We've got Nelson warming up in the bullpen. Pettit's giving him 6. One thing on the last day before the All-Star game, usually you've got a lot of guys to go to in the bullpen. The Yankees, including David Cone, available out of the pen tonight. This could be 2. Zeal, the second one. Mora back to first. Hampton covering. Double play. Mora hitting the moving target. Hampton for the double play.
This is probably the toughest double play to complete, the 3-6-1. Now watch see how far he gets off. That's because he's already squared up. Now it becomes an easy play, and the fired back as Hampton gets over to first base to cover. But this has all started because we were talking about earlier how Zeal is able to get off the bag when he's holding the runners on rather than hold him at the bag and then jump off. He was in perfect fielding position, able to turn and make a good throw, and it became a very easy 3-6-1 double play.
Well, many feel when Greg Maddux loses out on the Gold Glove at some point to be because Hampton will have won it. 2 down, nobody on. And the Yankees have not been able to move up runners tonight. They have not moved up 1 runner in this game. Knobloch in the first single was thrown out at second on a strike him out, throw him out double play. Williams led off the second with a double, died at second. O'Neill led off the 4th with a single, got picked off. Jose got a one-out walk in the 5th. He was stranded there. Jeter got a one-out single in the 6th. He was forced out at 2nd. Now Posada, a leadoff single in the 7th, wiped out in a double play. They have not moved up one runner even as much as one base in 7 innings tonight. They've had 5 hits plus 2 walks. They've had 7 men on base. Mike Hampton at the top of his game tonight. The 1-2 pitch. Base hit in the left field. And again, Joe, he got that curveball up there where I don't think he wants it, especially with 2 strikes.
Right, he got the curveball, hanging curveball. Good job by Jose to wait back and hit it in the left field. But watch, this ball stays up about belt high, and on this particular breaking ball, you can see it's about belt high, and Felix Jose stays right with it and hits it into the left field for a base hit.
And the light rain falling here at Shea Stadium. Top of the 7th. Here's Scott Brocious. He's no stranger to doing big things in big games before big crowds. Strike with a fastball. Of course, he was the World Series MVP 2 years ago.
The one thing you have to be careful with against Brocious is fastballs middle of the plate in, because he can drive the ball out of the ballpark.
Down and away with a fastball. The pitcher due up next, but David Justice has come out on deck. So he would pinch hit for Pettit if Brocious could keep the inning going. And Mike Hampton has now thrown 108 pitches in this game. One away. 2-1. Pettit is finished for the night. 6 innings, 1 run given up. Well, we say he's finished. Yeah, he might not be finished if Brocious makes the final out here. Jeff Nelson getting ready in the bullpen. The bullpen has been extraordinary in this weekend series. Strike 2 call to the outside.
Good pitch by Hampton in that. As I said, you try to stay away from Brocious, and that's right over the outside corner. And especially stay away from it with the break fastball.
2-2, 2 down. Jose at first. Well, he went up with the high hard one. That's the highest reading he's had on the gun tonight. But Brocious laid off. A light rain now at Shea Stadium. 7th inning, 1-0. The Mets lead the Yankees. Softly to short. Mora on the run. Throws him out. Nice play. 2 hits for the Yankees. 1 man left. Last of the 7th coming up. 1-0 Mets. Now to the last of the 7th. The Mets clinging to a 1-0 lead. Andy Pettit still out there. Pettit ready to face Todd Pratt in the rain now at Shea. It's just a real light rainfall at the moment. A sprinkle. Pratt has flied to right and walked. Slider low and in. 1 ball and no strikes. Hampton is on deck. The Mets with 5 hits. The Yankees with 6, but one of the Mets hits a home run by Todd Zeile. Fastball misses. 2-0 to Pratt. There's Hampton awaiting his turn in the on-deck circle. Pratt has the longest offer going in the major leagues other than for pitchers. The problem for Pratt is when he has an offer, it could take him another week or more before he gets another chance. He gets ball 4. Well, 0 for 28, but he got 2 walks tonight.
And that's when you're very upset with your pitcher when you say, the guy's 0 for 28 and we've walked him twice.
Yeah. Hampton comes up. All right, now he's a good hitting pitcher, Joe, but nonetheless, is he bunting here?
He should be bunting. You need 1 more run. I mean, you need an insurance run if you can possibly get it. The umbrellas are starting to come out, so it's raining a little harder.
Brocious very shallow at third. Hampton already showing bunt.
Good job.
Gets it down right away. Tino Martinez, knob-block covering.
You see what he did there, John? He squared around early, got the barrel of the bat out in front, and just played catch with it. Great job there.
That warms the manager's heart. Put the bunt sign on for the pitcher, and he gets it down just like that.
Look how he squared early, puts the barrel of the bat out there, and just plays catch with it. Just let it hit. Don't push at it or any of that. Just let the barrel out, set it out there, and let the ball hit it.
We talked about Hampton and his dad. And Hampton said that his dad, his motto was always, second place is the first loser. He said, leave everything on the field every time you play, because you never know when it's going to be your last day out there. And that's what Hampton tries to follow that credo whenever he plays. And we've seen that tonight, working on 3 days of rest. Here's Melvin Mora. Doubled in the first, grounded to short in the third, flied to right in the fifth. Now Joe Torre is coming out of the Yankee dugout to the home plate umpire Tim Welke, which would indicate a double switch. Something that almost never happens in an American League game. He's got the pitcher due to lead off in the top of the 8th inning. It looks like Jose Vizcaíno is coming in. Jeff Nelson warming up in the bullpen apparently to come in. And we'll be right back. Game weekend sweep of the Mets. Neither team has ever swept a series from the other since interleague play began. And here is Jeff Nelson now trying to hold the line. Look at those numbers, Joe. I mean, those are truly all-star-like numbers.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you were going to pick a reliever, you probably would have picked Jeff Nelson. But as we know that, and you looked at Bobby Cox, it kind of tells you how they think. Bobby Cox is more of a starting pitcher guy. He loves starting pitching, whereas, you know, some other managers are more in the bullpen players.
Jose Vizcaíno is going to play third base. Scott Brocious out of the game. So Vizcaíno will go into the 9th spot of the order and be due to lead it off in the 8th inning. The 6-foot, 8-inch tall Nelson working in the rain now. He'll be feeling the rain just a little bit before anybody else in the field. He's from the Baltimore area. And this is a guy, Joe, who did not experience major league life until his 9th year in pro ball. There's a slider for a strike to Melvin Mora.
And he's very tough on right-handed hitters because he kind of drops down and he's hard to pick up. He doesn't throw sidearm, but he drops down with his front shoulder and then he raises his arm.
Way outside and back to the screen, and that changes a few things as Pratt goes to third.
Well, he threw him a slider for strike one, and he was going to throw a harder slider, and he held on to it a little too long, and it got away from Posada. And watch, he holds on to this one a little too long and throws it a little harder. And Todd Pratt moves over to third base. Now the infield's going to play in. The Yankees are already down 1-0, so they can't afford to just give up a run here. Scoring out.
1-1 to Mora. High in the air to center. It looks to be plenty deep enough to get Pratt home. Bernie Williams will not even make a play on it. So the wild pitch contributes to a run. 2-0 Mets.
And a good job by Moore to be able to get the ball into the outfield deep enough to score the run. We all take it for granted that a guy can just hit the ball and deep enough to drive in the run. But when you have a sidearm and right-hander like Jeff Nelson out there, not easily done.
Charge that run to Andy Pettitte. And the Mets have a run without a hit in this inning. A walk, a sacrifice, the wild pitch, and now the fly ball. Only their 7th run in the 4 games of this series. Now Derek Bell is struck out, singled, and struck out again. 1 for 3. Fastball for a strike. Jeff Nelson, Joe, originally signed with the Dodgers in 1984. And he made all the stops. But it was not until 1992 that he got his first look at the big leagues with the Seattle Mariners. just missing outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's had some very fine years, particularly after coming to the Yankees. But after all of those years, Joe, he was thinking, wow, I'm having the kind of a year maybe to make an all-star team this year. And he said some things that finally, yesterday, as he was very upset about being left off the all-star team by his own manager, Joe Torre. But yesterday, he went and apologized to Torre for those remarks. He said the remarks had sort of taken on a life of their own. Fastball runs inside, 3-1. But this idea of a relief pitcher who's not the closer being an all-star, that's a fairly new idea. Jeff Zimmerman with Texas made the all-star team after a great first half. Deep third, Vizcaíno, long throw. He's got the arm for it, stretching out to bring it in. Tino Martinez. Dan Carlson, the umpire, on top of the play, making sure he kept his foot in the bag. But a big run at it for the Mets. Vizcaíno, Knobloch, and Jeter coming up for the Yankees. And that's going to do it for Hampton.
And I assume the big sign there may be Armando Benitez he's calling in.
And it is Benitez.
Yeah.
Well, he was not warming up. He'll get as long as he deems necessary to warm up because of an injury, an apparent injury here to Hampton. Bobby Valentine did say before the game tonight that Benitez is extremely well rested, and he would have no problem with bringing Benitez in to pitch 2 innings in this game. He's got a 2-run lead to try and protect. And Hampton waits for him at the mound. And Benitez will take the ball from Hampton, who pinched his guts out here tonight. Through 112 pitches, and he leaves. And Shea Stadium salutes him.
In your forearm or in your wrist, Mike? Right down.
So it looked like Joey was pointing to an area near the wrist.
Well, I'm not sure. He just said it looked like maybe a circulation problem.
Hampton pointing to a spot on Dave Wallace's left arm near the wrist or above the wrist. Here is Armando Benitez. Now look at those numbers. You talk about a guy who's tough to hit. 40 2/3 innings, 22 hits allowed, and 54 strikeouts.
Well, we all know he has a great fastball and a tough slider and a splitter as well.
Of course, he has his own beanball history with the Yankees.
And Tino Martinez.
If there are any lingering feelings of bad blood between these two clubs from last night, if you're the Yankees, you would hate to see it expressed now.
Boiled over again, right?
He's one of those guys throw 98 miles an hour. Fastball up and away. And it is 2-0. Benitez has not worked in 6 days. 3-0. Sometimes closers, especially these hard-throwing closers, it's hard for them to stay sharp when they don't work regularly. They're used to working regularly. The Angels clobbering the Rockies. San Diego still leading Texas. 3-1 now to Jose Vizcaíno. His team trailing 2-0. He's just trying to get on base. Benitez with 18 saves in 21 save chances. And he walks him. Now Chuck Knobloch, who comes up. The hero last night at Yankee Stadium with a 3-run homer. Tonight his best hit ball in the 6th inning. You see last night Harris had it, couldn't hold it. 3-run homer.
And tonight he hits the ball deep to right field, and Derek Bell makes a leaping catch, and he's able to hold on to it.
As you pointed out at the time, I mean, Bell was playing him shallow and had a long, long run to get back to that one.
And he's still playing pretty shallow. In fact, the entire outfield is playing Chuck pretty shallow for a guy that can't hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Benitez getting everything up out of the strike zone so far.
But I think someone needs to walk in, as Robin Ventura does, just to slow him down a little bit. They all walk in and say something.
Benitez third in the National League with 18 saves. Does sometimes give up the long ball. Off the fists.
Good fastball there.
Benitez in his 40 2/3 innings this year has given up 7 home runs, which is that's more than one every 6 innings, and it's a high figure for a late inning closer. Look out. 2-1. And Knobloch is a guy who's tough to strike out, and he has not struck out in any one of his last 56 plate appearances. It's the longest current streak by an American League player. Back to the screen. 2-2. Derek Jeter on deck. Nobody out. Remember, the Yankees now have just gotten their 9th base runner of the game. Their previous 8 base runners have never advanced beyond the base where they started. They have not moved up a single base runner. And the save by Todd Pratt, that keeps Vizcaino from moving up.
Well, he threw him a splitter. He got 2 strikes, and he tried to throw him the splitter to finish off the at-bat, and it bounces way out in front of the plate. Good job by Pratt to keep him in front of him.
Great job. Pratt done a fine job tonight behind the plate. Playing in place of Mike Piazza, routined last night by Roger Clemens. And by the way, as we understand it, word is that he has been advised not to go to Atlanta for the All-Star game at all. And at this point, we understand he will not. Runner goes. Swung on and missed. Throw to second. Double play!
Well, the Yankees have been aggressive on the base path. That's a little surprising there because Benitez is so erratic. But you're right, because Chuck had not struck out in such a long time, they decided to send him. But Chuck goes up and out of the strike zone because I think he knew that Vizcaino was running. He's trying to protect him. And there's Todd Pratt showing his emotion and how happy he is to be able to throw.
And that face was the Mets' face as a team last night after Piazza got beamed. And it was still their face for many, not just in the clubhouse, but in the organization, coming to the ballpark tonight. 2 down and nobody on. Pratt has done a great job behind the plate. Jeter back to the screen. 2 strikes to count. Knobloch tried to steal second in the first inning, and Jeter struck out into a double play.
Well, the reason they sent him in that situation because, as you mentioned, Knobloch has not struck out in a while.
It's been more than 2 weeks
right,
since
but
he struck out.
It's not a good, play otherwise, but Knobloch has been putting the ball in play.
The Mets partisans at Shea on their feet. 2 down, nobody on. 2 strikes to Derek Jeter. Strike 3 called. The Yankees have only 3 outs left. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball in our 11th season. Getting ready now for the All-Star break. The All-Star game Tuesday night. 54,286 here at Shea Stadium for the Yankees and the Mets, and that's the look at Shea from the Gum-Out aerial camera. Thanks to them. Been a tough night for the Yankees once they've gotten men on base. That's not been really a big problem. They've had 9 base runners, but 2 have been thrown out trying to steal in strikeout situations. Paul O'Neill got picked off, and they had a 4th runner wiped out on a ground ball double play. And they have not had any one of the 9 able to move up even so much as one base. Todd Pratt. First off, Joe, he saved a wild pitch.
Right.
Knobloch was up there.
Exactly. That was the big play.
That was the big play, and then later on the 3-2 count, he was able to throw out Knobloch at second. Knobloch would already have been at second had it been that one. And the wild pitch actually happened, but Knobloch ends up striking out into a double play because Pratt saved that wild pitch earlier. Ricardo Alfonso 0 for 3, 1-1 the count. My captain left the game injured, and Alvaro Martinez some information. Alvaro.
Quick update on Hampton. Apparently he left the game with a muscle cramp in his left forearm. There's no prognosis as to when he might be back.
All right. Thanks, Alvaro. A muscle cramp in that forearm.
Well, John, when it's hot like this, and you lose a lot of body fluid, I mean, you do cramp up a little bit, and that's probably what happened. I mean, he threw a lot of pitches, and it's very warm out there and humid.
Well, he was the pitcher that they traded for tonight, the ace. 2-2 to Alfonso. 7 innings, no runs allowed, 8 strikeouts. Alfonso 2 for 14 in this series. 0 for 3 tonight, a strikeout, a double play ball, and a ground out. Zeal and Agbayani will follow. Off the outside with a slider. Yesterday in that day-night doubleheader, the Yankee bullpen was unbelievable. The Yankee bullpen faced 19 Mets yesterday. The Mets were 0 for 17 in those 19 appearances with a sacrifice bunt and a walk. Now that is domination. And tonight, Nelson has faced 2 hitters. He's got 1 on a sacrifice fly and 1 on a ground out. But he did throw a wild pitch. And that set up the second run. So the Mets 7, the Yankees 8. There was a tale of 2 wild pitches, 1 that was and 1 that wasn't. Struck him out with a fastball. And Nelson keeps on doing what he's been doing all year long.
The first baseman, number 9, Todd Zeal.
Well, the difficult part is you look for that breaking ball from Nelson, and then every once in a while he'll just turn that good fastball loose, and you can't get a chance. You don't have a chance at it. See, he's not a sidearm pitcher. He drops down with his front shoulder, but you can see that pitch was delivered from 3/4. Now you watch him, he looks like he's dropping sidearm, but he really isn't.
So Alfonso, hard times continue. Here's Todd Zeal. A called strike. Zeal drove in the first run of the game with a homer to right in the 4th inning. 2-0. The Mets are leading the Yankees. The Yankees will give it their best shot in the 9th inning. Their 3, 4, 5 hitters due up. Back to the screen, and they still have David Justice on the bench. Here's the 4th inning we're talking about when Zeal led off against Pettit.
And this ball is hit on a line. You see O'Neill not able to get back there in time to make the jump and make the play.
The Toronto Blue Jays won today in Montreal, the Canadian battle, 13-3. Toronto. Popped up foul. Vizcaíno and Posada. On the foul side of the line, it almost ended up being a fair ball. Posada made the backhanded catch.
The left fielder, number 50.
Sports Center follows the ball game. Stay tuned for that. Dan Patrick, Stuart Scott, and Pete Sampras. A big day on the lawn at Wimbledon. The Sunday conversations with Pedro Martinez and Randy Johnson. Sounds like we're going to talk some pitching there. Good pitching. 2 of the best in the game. And then the plays of the week, All-Star Edition. Sports Center. For 20 years, your source for sports news and highlights. Here's Benny Agbayani. He's been on base 3 times tonight. A slider spins in there for a strike. Benny has singled and twice has walked. Mets have been without Mike Piazza. Beamed last night. And apparently, the National League All-Stars will be without Piazza on Tuesday night.
Let's take a look at Nelson. And I'm saying he really doesn't drop all the way down sidearm. See where he comes from? See, that's way up over the top almost, 3/4. So he appears that he's a sidearm reliever, but he's not. He drops down with his front shoulder, but he actually delivers the ball about 3/4. Maybe a little lower than 3/4, but he's definitely not sidearm.
I'm going with sidearm.
Hey, the hitters,
Sidearm slider swung on and missed.
hey, let's put it this way. The hitters think it is, and it appears that it's a sidearm slider, but it really isn't. He gets on top. But you mentioned Piazza's not going. I'm losing a partner. I was supposed to work with Piazza tomorrow in the home run derby. He works with me every year. I've worked with him for the last 2 years.
Well, how are you going?
Well, I'm going to go and work with Boomer, I guess.
All the
Chris
guys,
Berman and I will work
everybody's
together.
dropping out. Nobody's going.
I can't drop out.
You don't look that good to me. If I were you, I'd get some rest over the next 3 days. Really?
I'll get some rest, but I still have to go.
How many fingers am I holding up?
Is that? Let me see. Let me get my computer. Anytime something goes wrong now, I get my computer to figure it out.
Man, Joe Morgan, Cyber Joe, going online. 3-2 the count. Oh, good reaction there by Agbayani. That was one of those sliders that looked like it was going to be too far in. Started to break, and he swatted at it at the last moment. 3-2. Barry Bonds aggravated his thumb injury Saturday in a pinch hit at bat in St. Louis for the Giants. Looks like he's out. Ken Griffey Jr., sore right knee, probably won't play, although he's supposed to hit in the home run derby tomorrow. Greg Maddux scratched from his start today at Fenway Park with a sore right shoulder. He will not be in the All-Star game. Cal Ripken is on the disabled list with a back injury. Ball 4 to Agbayani, the third straight walk that he has drawn. 2-out walk in the 8th inning. The batter will be Ventura, but Cal, this is like epic as Joe Torre heads out to the mound. Cal Ripken has started a record 16 consecutive All-Star games. But not this year. The streak will end again for Ripken. We'll be back. Coach comes out to pitch for the Yankees. 24 years old. Brought him up from Columbus. And Joe, he's a guy who is filling in for the injured Alan Watson, but is one of those left-handers who specializes in getting the left-handed hitter out.
Well, that's his job, and his job now is to get Robin Ventura out. Now, he's a little more sidearm
Number 4, Robin
than Jeff Nelson was.
No, if Nelson's not a sidearmer, then nobody's a sidearmer. Joe McEwing, little back in St. Louis last year. The Mets picked him up from the Cardinals.
Well, last year they called him Super Joe in St. Louis.
He was had a very fine year for the Cardinals, and they used him to get Jesse Orozco this year. Ironically, Orozco had been injured most of the year. Robin Ventura. Choate, brought up from the minors June 29th. First. Well, he even throws to
That was sidearm, right?
There's a guy with the Colorado Rockies. He's almost below side, more like a submarine type left-hander. But he's built a lot like this guy, Mike Myers. Not the actor, the left-handed submarine style pitcher. Myers is out there. I'd be saying he's not really a sidearmer. He's a submarine type.
Submarine.
Well, this guy made a submarine type throw to first there. McEwing, the runner at first. The Mets already leading 2-0. McEwing has 2 steals. Left field, a little bloop right along the line. Base hit. McEwing with a big turn at second, but he's going to hold there. Does not want to make the third out at third base. Not an acceptable risk.
Well, he hit Robin Ventura on the fist with that sidearm fastball, and he got a base hit, and Joe Torre is going to make another change.
Showed one of several young pitchers the Yankees have utilized this year up in the minor league system. And he is unable to get that left-handed hitter out that he was brought in to get out. The Yankees will go to their bullpen again. Jason Grimsley coming in to face Peyton. We'll be right back. Shea Stadium, New York. The Mets 2, the Yankees nothing. The Battle of New York, the Subway Series. Jason Grimsley now to try and get off the hook here. Grimsley, who's been in long relief, late relief, a spot starting pitcher, has been a very valuable man for Joe Torre out of that bullpen the last couple of years. He inherits 2 base runners, McEwing, who belongs to Nelson at second base, Ventura, who belongs to Choate at first base, and Jay Payton, the hitter, who belongs to Grimsley, or so Joe Torre hopes. In the rain at Shea Stadium. Some umbrellas are seen around the ballpark as Payton 0 for 3 in the game, 1 for 14 for the weekend. High in the air, right center, O'Neill there. On the warning track. So now the Mets try and finish the first half with a win. But the Yanks have O'Neill, Williams, and Posada. Coming up, 2-0 Mets. It's raining in New York. Armando Benitez needs 3 outs more to make the Mets a winner to avert a disastrous weekend here. Joe McEwing stays in the ballgame to play left field after he came on as a runner for Benny Agbayani. Armando Benitez now to face Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, and Jorge Posada, the 3, 4, 5 hitters in Joe Torre's batting order. Of course, Torre, along with Jeter, Williams, Posada, and Rivera. The Yankees, they'll be flying down to Atlanta. Torre will be managing the American League All-Stars again. And he'll be bringing his entire coaching staff from the Yankees with him. The Yankees just a half game up on the Blue Jays at the start of the night. The Blue Jays, who have played quite a few more games than have the Yankees. The Yankees just
7 to be exact.
The National League East, the Braves lost today. The Mets would go to the break 3 out if they could win this one. And Benitez is trying to make sure they do. Paul O'Neill got him with a slider very high, ball 1. O'Neill has struck out, singled, and struck out again. 2-0. The Mets lead the Yankees. Mets and Yankees would not meet again unless they were both in the World Series. Strike called on the outside. This is the 6th regular season interleague series between these 2 ball clubs. And they have never played each other in these interleague games, Joe, while both teams were in first place. Strike called on the outside. The last time that 2 New York-based teams met in a regular season game while they were both in first place was the final game in 1951 when Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world. The Giants and the Dodgers tied for first. Thompson's homer in the bottom of the 9th sent the Giants to the World Series. And that was a playoff because they were tied to determine which team was going to finish in first place. So those games counted in the regular season standings. So we've had electricity, excitement, big plays, bad blood. But still in all, these 2 teams play in a different league. So there's only so far that this kind of a rivalry can go. 2-2 the count. High and outside, 3-2, 97 miles an hour, but out of the zone.
Well, what you definitely do not want to do here is walk the leadoff hitter and give the Yankees 3 more shots at tying it with 1 swing of the bat. They have Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Tino Martinez, and maybe even David Justice.
Well, and Bernie Williams has really hurt Armando Benitez in the past. He's on deck. Center field. Payton going back. Backpedaling there, and he makes the catch as he gets to the track. Hit well by O'Neill, but into the big part of the ballpark. 396 feet out there to extremely deep left center.
Well, a good job by Payton. You see, gets it under control right here. He knows he can make the catch right there and turns and makes the catch.
And now Bernie Williams. Bernie has had 5 hits in 6 career at-bats against Benitez, including a home run. That home run was back when Benitez was with Baltimore at Yankee Stadium. Bernie had a grand slam against him. The next batter was Tino Martinez, and Benitez hit Tino right in the small of the back. and a hellacious brawl broke out at Yankee Stadium. That's a called strike for Bernie. Bernie tonight has blooped a double to center, grounded a short, and grounded into a force play. 1 for 3. Jorge Posada is on deck. Joe, this one thing is for sure that they may not meet in the World Series. Maybe they will. They both are a definite contender to go to the series, as you see those numbers we were telling you about for Bernie against Benitez. By the way, 2-1. But this 4-game series has been played kind of like a postseason or a World Series. Well, strong pitching, great defense, tension. They've only 17 runs scored in this whole series in 4 games by the 2 teams combined. Base hit for Bernie.
Well, Bernie gives them a shot. Low fastball, he just reaches out with his hands and lines it back into center field for a base hit. Now watch the swing, not much else but hands. Look at that, just uses his hands and lines it into center field. When a guy throws as hard as Benitez, all you want to do is quicken your swing. You don't swing harder, just make sure that your swing is a little quicker.
In these 4 games, only 17 runs scored. Only 3 home runs have been hit by the 2 teams combined. And this the year of the home run. But this guy is capable of hitting one. He's got 14 for the year. Benitez has given up 7 in 41 innings. 8 strikes. Yankees won Friday night 2-1. Won the doubleheader yesterday in tight, low-scoring games. Called a strike on the outside. Yankees won both games yesterday by scores of 4-2. The Mets are leading this game 2-0. 0-2 to Posada, who has walked, struck out, and singled. Tino Martinez is on deck. Like he reared back and just tried to throw it as hard as he could.
Well, I think he did. With 2 strikes, he's just going to throw as hard as he can and hope he gets it in the area of the strike zone, preferably up.
Tino Martinez on deck. The splitter for the strikeout. Strikeout for Mets pitching.
The thing about Benitez is he can get ahead of you. You're in real trouble. The only time he struggles is when he falls behind. With 2 strikes, you have to swing at this pitch. See, it looks like a fastball, and you don't have a lot of time to make up your mind, but you see it's a splitter, and Posada chases it.
2 down and out, Tino Martinez. He's had 2 hits in 5 career at-bats against Benitez. Bernie Williams at first. Zeal plays behind him. Strike, and it's 0-1.
Oh, beautiful splitter right there. Start Martinez off with it.
Tino hit a home run in this ballpark yesterday, a big one. Drove in 3 runs in that first game yesterday. 2 down, 9th inning. Comes back with a fastball and misses. Next Sunday, we'll be in Denver. I think we'll see more runs next Sunday than we saw tonight. Oakland and the Rockies. There goes Bernie. The splitter in the dirt. And for the first time tonight, after 10 men had reached base, the Mets actually have a runner who advances a base. It's the only time it's happened. The Yankees' first base runner to advance a base.
Well, are they giving him a stolen base?
No. Defensive indifference. No steal. Zeal is playing way behind him at first. 2-1 to Tino. 3-1.
Well, Felix Jose is the scheduled hitter on deck, but I know David Justice is sitting over there someplace.
There's Jose, number 45. Bernie at second.
Well, he's just sitting.
Well, now the walk puts the possible tying run on base. 2 men on. It's the first time tonight, or rather the second time tonight, the Yankees have had 2 men on at the same time. The other time was in the second inning. And Justice is coming out on deck.
He would presumably hit for Brocious. I mean Nelson, Jeff Nelson's spot, the pitcher spot, I'm sorry. Pitcher spot. Grimsley's in there now, so he would hit for Grimsley.
Which the Yankees a little short-handed off the bench because Shane Spencer got hurt in the first inning in left field. A really freaky type play where he twisted his knee on a base hit by Melvin Mora.
I can't even read my own writing here. That's what I'm starting to worry about.
They're going to send in a runner over at first base. Wilson Delgado will pitch running. Bertino Martinez
Number 14,
represents a
Wilson
possible
Delgado.
tying run. We mentioned a lot of All-Stars having to drop out of the All-Star game, which is Tuesday night. I'll be tuned in, by the way, you and Bob Costas on NBC. And then tomorrow night, Home Run Derby.
Well, at this point, I know Chris Berman and I will be working there. Mike Piazza was supposed to work with us. You can see the outfield is as deep as they could possibly get.
Big chop. Seals got it. He'll take it to the bag. The ball game is over. The Mets avert the sweep and beat the Yankees in the final game before the All-Star break with a shutout combined from Hampton and Benitez.
Well, I think this game showed what the Mets can do. I mean, they get great pitching, good defense, and timely hitting. And all the bad feelings from yesterday have kind of disappeared for a time being. But I don't think the Mets are going to forget that they lost their best player in Mike Piazza to a beanball incident yesterday. But I do believe that they showed that they're capable of beating the Yankees in the tight ball games.
So the Subway Series for the year 2000 is over. But if anything, the bad feeling between the two ball clubs now is out in the open. They don't like each other, especially the Mets. They don't like the Yankees. 2-0. The Mets win it. Hampton gets the win. Next Sunday, we'll be in Denver. It'll be the Rockies and the Athletics on ESPN 8 Eastern. Now stay tuned. SportsCenter is coming up next. For Joe Morgan, Alvaro Martin, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm John Miller. Good night from New York.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
I'm going to say on my own, I thought it was definitely intentional. I could respect the fact of getting hit. I feel there's a definite difference between that and, you know, almost, and in my career, getting hit in the face, getting hit in the eye. I just really have no respect or appreciation for the comments they said. I choose really to try to think of Roger Clemens as a great pitcher, but I really can't say I have respect for him right now.
Prior to Saturday night, the brief history of the Subway Series was devoid of one emotion: hate. But that may have changed with one pitch that appeared to have a purpose. Roger Clemens said his second-inning fastball to Mike Piazza's head did not have cruel intentions. Piazza, as you just heard, begs to differ. The underlying current attached to Sunday's series finale was, will there be any retaliation? Piazza in uniform but not in the lineup and not headed to Atlanta for the All-Star game. Fans showing their support. Mike Hampton on the mound, top of the first to Derek Jeter. A strike him out, throw him out, Todd Pratt. Piazza's replacement gets Chuck Knobloch. Next batter is Paul O'Neill, and Hampton gets the whiff. Hampton would be cruising early. Bottom of the first, Andy Pettit facing Melvin Mora. No score. Base knock, and a costly base knock for the Yankees. Shane Spencer feels the ball and then goes down hard in obvious pain. Mora gets a leadoff double. Joe Torre out to check on Spencer. Look at it again. Spencer's right leg will buckle underneath him. He would leave the game and went to the hospital, replaced by Felix Jose. Hampton cruising, Jeter in the third, and gets the whiff again. Jorge Posada, the All-Star, facing Hampton. 2 out in the fourth. Hampton, 7 innings of shutout baseball, 8 Ks, 2 walks. Bottom 4, no score. Todd Zeile against Pettit. Gone. Or is it? Paul O'Neill can't bring it back. Zeile's 14th of the year. 1-0. Hampton against Knobloch in the 6th. It is deep, but it is playable. Deep Bell the Whiz. Before the top of the 8th, Hampton apparently feeling some pain. Armando Benitez comes in from the pen. In the 8th, 2-0 Mets. Knobloch against Benitez. 1 on, nobody out. And Pratt gets Jose Vizcaíno. Pratt turns another strikeout. Throw him out. Double play. Derek Jeter, 2 outs, 2 strike count. And Jeter strikes out for the 3rd time. Benitez and the Mets hold on to win the series finale by the final of 2-0. The loss snapping the Yankees' 5-game winning streak. There still hasn't been a sweep of any kind in this 4-year interleague series. Hampton's 7 shutout innings, his 1.87 ERA since May 9th, is the best in the majors for any pitcher with at least, but he stayed perfect when pitching on short notice. He's now 5-0 with an ERA just over 2.6 in his 5 careers.
Braves Red Sox, Kevin Millwood starting for the injured Greg Maddux. Bottom 1 facing Brian Dahlback, and Dahlback got hung up on dial tone. Then that noise, it sounds like something from a horror movie. 500th strikeout of Millwood's career. Bottom 3, 1-1 game. Mira. Nomar Garciaparra, 11th homer of the year. First ever against the Braves, 2-1 Boston. Top 5, Andrew Jones. With a runner in scoring position, Drew got played more than Drew Hill on Hot 97.1 FM. Tim Wakefield, 7 innings, 2 on runs. Jones, a .312 hitter, was 0 for 4. Bottom 5, Nomar. Won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Second homer of the game, 12th of the year. Second 2-homer game in 4 games for Nomar. For Nomar. Sox going to win at 7-2. Tim Wakefield, who has bounced from the bullpen in the Battle of Canada, and Tony Batista riding the pony all the way to Atlanta for the All-Star game. That's Raul Mondesi riding this pitch from Dustin Hermanson. 3-run homer, 23rd on the year, 5-1 Jays. Later in the inning, still 5-1, 2 on for Darren Fletcher. Runners to right, and Vlad Guerrero has some problems. Carlos Delgado will score. 6-1 Toronto. It was 8-1 Toronto in the 6th. Bases loaded, and it's Batista.
I don't know what. Ignore the game on Tuesday.
Homer Bush and Mondesi score. 10-1 Toronto. Batista 3 for 5, 3 RBIs. Jays go on to win it by the final up 13-3. The 18 hits marks a season high for the Jays. Mondesi has homered in 3 straight games. Frank Castillo has won 5 straight decisions. Simpson in our Rookie of the Year making his first start. Top 6, Omar Vizquel at bat. Anything else like whoa. Solo home run like whoa. 3 days ago, Omar had 2 home runs this year. Now he's got 5. 3 jacks in 2 days. Bottom 8, Indians up 3-1. Andrew Lorraine facing Ken Griffey Jr. Jr. doesn't like the call. Rookie umpire Justin Clem tosses Jr., and it is on. Ken said later, before seeing a replay, I don't get mad very often. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. If he's wrong, we'll shake hands and go out and do our jobs. Bottom 9, 2 on, 2 outs. Tying run on first for Barry Larkin, and the former MVP hits it to right. Ricky Leday, closure. What we all need in our psychological lives. Reds 12-20 since June 5th. Indians going to win at 5-3, even with the win, though. Things are pretty tense in the Tribe Clubhouse. Cards and the Giants, bottom 5, 3-0 Cards, 1 out, 1 on. Fernando Tatis has just left the building off Livan Hernandez, 5-0 Cardinals. Top of the 8th got interesting. Little chess game. Giants down 8-3, 1 out, 2 on. Dusty Baker sends up Barry Bonds. Even though he's injured, Tony La Russa says, well, let's bring in the lefty, Mike Matthews. Baker says, all right, you're bringing in the lefty, I'm bringing in Ellis Burks instead of Bonds. Base knock.
And that's going to drop for a base hit.
Loads the bases. Next batter, Jeff Kent against Dave Beers.
Drive, base hit into left center field. That one will go all the way to the wall.
3 runs come in. Giants down 8-6. Top 9. Giants down 8-7. 2 outs, nobody on for Bill Miller, and a full count facing Beers. Look a little low. Cards win it 8-7. So the Giants' 8-game winning streak comes to an abrupt end at the All-Star break. Pat Henkin, working on 3 days rest for the first time in nearly 4 years, got the win following 5 innings of 2-hit ball. Barry Bonds made it official. He will join the list of injured All-Stars who won't be playing Derby, but not in the All-Star game. Pretty good lineup here. I don't even need a second baseman to beat you. Piazza with a concussion made it official Sunday night. He will not be in Atlanta. Mark McGuire's out. Manny Ramirez, Bonds, Cal Ripken. Couple of pitchers. Greg Maddux not able to play in his home park. Pedro Martinez and Alex Rodriguez. Intra-city matchup. That's Donald Trump throughout the first pitch and then tried to buy Sammy Sosa. Bottom 5, Cubbies down 4-3, 1 out, 1 on, and it's H-Rod. Henry Rodriguez against Cal Eldred. Maglio Ordonez is back, and this one is gone. 5-4 on O. Henry, 17th of the season, top 6. That's Carlos Lee off Kevin Tapani. Second homer of the game. Southsiders up 6-5. Bottom 6 after a Mark Gray sac fly. It's Slammin' Sammy, who was traded by the White Sox to the Cubs for George Bell. It's deep and it's not playable. 23rd on the season. Cubs beat the Sox by the final of 9-6. Back in June, the Sox took 2 of 3 at Comiskey. Cubs returned the favor at Wrigley. Tapani won despite Coffey stood in Randy Johnson's way of his 14th win of the season. Had a few obstacles.
Pretty good series for Ben.
Not only the A's, but some of their equipment. That's Ben Grieve in the bottom of the second. Jay Bell maintains his concentration, gets his man. Later in the inning, Johnson is on his game, facing Matt Stairs, just looking. Johnson, 6 strikeouts, first 3 innings. Bottom 4, still 2-0 Arizona. Bases loaded for Stairs. Stairs was 6 for 10 lifetime against Johnson coming into the game. Olmedo signs, and Ben Grieve completeward. We're tied at 2. Top 5 still tied at 2. Damian Miller up with 2 men aboard. Greg Colburn tries to score from second. The throw is there from Matt Stairs. Ramon Hernandez can't keep it in his glove. Colburn scores, and it's now 3-2. Johnson against Stairs, just looking. Diamondbacks going to win at 4-2. Johnson 7 innings, 13 Ks, 2 earned as he picks up the victory.
Early going, M fans wishing A-Rod well. Bottom second, oh, that's disturbing. Joe Oliver crushes his 3rd home run of the year. He busts up Chet-Ho Park. Park allowed only 3 hits, all by Oliver. Top 4 Mariners start flushing the leather. Jim Leyrick's ground ball up the middle, but Carlos Guillen, A-Rod's replacement, is banging. Nice flip, they get Leyrick's. Nice glove by Guillen, now about that 155 batting average. You know, A-Rod's hitting 345. Jamie Moyer gets Gary Sheffield chilling. Moyer, season high 8 Ks. Sheffield argues with home plate ump Phil Cousy, does not get tossed. Top 9 still 2-zip. Mariners, Kazuhiro Sasaki on to close it. Guillen again. Serious range. A-Rod's replacement was the truth in the field. He was only 0 for 4 at the plate, but he was the truth in the field. Mariners win it 2-zip. Then he was the truth in the field. M shut out the Dodgers for the 2nd game in the row. In the 2 games, LA only 12 singles. The Mariners get their best first half in their history, 51-35, and it's only the 2nd time in 20
match of the 1983 World Series. The Phillies and O's. Desi Relaford, bottom of the 8th. Alan Mills in relief. Will Clark gets his man. Top 9. With a man aboard, Brady Anderson is at second. That would make 2 men aboard. Jeff Brantley in to try to close it out. Will Clark, good Will haunting. Does it with his glove, does it with his bat. Matos and Anderson score. O's go on to win it by the final of 5-4. Clark and Brantley were college teammates at Mississippi State and also the San Francisco Giants. Brantley had converted 13 consecutive save opportunities. The O's took the interleague series 4-2.
Florida, Devil Rays, Marlins, Ocean Creatures, Top 1, Crime Dog, Fred McGriff. Booyah! 2-run jack, 18th of the year, 408th of his career, passing Duke Snyder for 30th all-time. Bottom 4, Mark Smith on first, Preston Wilson on third. Smith tries to steal second. DeFelice's throw goes to Felix Martinez, who tries to get